Do you love novels, but don't have time to read thousands of chapters? Imagine listening to your favorite stories anytime, anywhere, while driving, working, or relaxing. Here, you'll find premium audiobooks from Pocket FM, Audible, Webnovel, Wuxia, and more, all in one place. Every novel is a one-time payment, no subscriptions, no monthly fees, lifetime access. The full novel list and prices are in the description below. Once you choose a novel, just DM me on Telegram, WhatsApp, or Discord. After payment via PayPal, Ko-fi, or Patreon, you get permanent access to the audiobook on Telegram. And if the novel is ongoing, all future updates are included. Check the description, pick your story, and start listening today. Before we start the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button. Enjoy, and let's go.
251, Chapter 251. Shinobu could only offer an awkward smile. Don't worry, I won't harm Nezuko. I promise. She raised her hand, emphasizing, I promise I won't harm a single hair on Nezuko's head. Ryuji remained impassive, coldly replying, you don't need to promise me anything, because I won't give you the chance. Shinobu's insistence only made Ryuji suspect she still intended to harm Nezuko, so he remained unyielding. Finally, Shinobu lost her patience. Do you have to target me like this? I just didn't know the situation. I'm not targeting you. Anyone who tries to harm Nezuko will die by my blade, Ryuji stated. Shinobu understood Nezuko was Ryuji's taboo subject. She dropped the topic, saying, then, let's go down the mountain. The hidden division members were stunned. Shinobu, the insect Hashira, had yielded to Ryuji's strong defiance. It was completely unexpected. At that moment, Tanjiro, lying on the stretcher, remembered Inashuk. He urgently told Ryuji, Senior Ryuji, Inashuk is in danger. We need to save him. Don't worry. Inashuk's situation has been resolved. Now, let's go find him, Ryuji said with a faint smile. Tanjiro relaxed. Shinobu noticed Ryuji's tone with Tanjiro was vastly different from his tone with her. She sensed a familial resemblance to her sister's tone in Ryuji's voice. Ryuji's faint smile surprised Shinobu. She'd assumed he was as stoic as Jiyu. She realized his smile wasn't feigned but genuine and natural. It reminded her of her sister. Her curiosity about Ryuji intensified, and he gained a significant place in her mind. They arrived at Inashuk's battle site, but Ryuji didn't see him. Only loose ropes lay where Inashuk had been tied up. Inashuk couldn't have untied himself. Someone must have been there. As Ryuji pondered this, a hidden member who knew him approached. Senior Ryuji, is the Inashuk you're talking about the shirtless guy with the boar head? Ryuji nodded. Did you rescue him? We happened to pass by before meeting you and saw him tied up, so we rescued him. 2 others took him away, the member explained. 252, Chapter 252. Knowing Inashuk's whereabouts, Ryuji didn't linger. They continued down the mountain. Soon, they reached a relatively open area at the foot of the mountain. Hundreds of people were gathered there, with the sounds of injured people groaning and hidden division members talking. Ryuji and Shinobu immediately attracted attention. Ryuji was surprised by the sheer number of hidden division members deployed for cleanup. The 2 hidden members carrying Tanjiro found a space and set him down. Ryuji stopped them. Do me a favor. Find the guy with the boar head and bring him here. They readily agreed. Shortly after, they returned with the unconscious Inashuk. One of them asked, Senior Ryuji, anything else? We need to attend to other injured members. Thank you. You can go, Ryuji said, dismissing them. Tanjiro, seeing Inashuk beside him, thought, everyone's alright. That's great. Shinobu approached Ryuji. You're quite influential. You can even command the hidden division members. Ryuji smiled faintly. I guess you've never been in a relationship. Shinobu was taken aback, but he was right, she'd never dated. She wondered why he said that, but Ryuji continued, your initiative has led to a misunderstanding. Even if I do something excessive to you, it's your fault. Shinobu realized Ryuji was different from Jiyu. Jiyu would never say something so heart-fluttering. Oh, what excessive thing would you do? Shinobu asked curiously, intrigued by his words. It was the first time a man had spoken to her like that. Ryuji had intended to scare her, but Shinobu seemed unconcerned. She leaned closer. Ryuji didn't take the bait. He knew what she was trying to do. If he kissed her and missed, he'd be the laughingstock. He remained unmoved, placing his hand on his Nichiren blade, then using water-breathing, 13 form real judgment, with precise control. 253, Chapter 253. Tanjiro, witnessing their playful banter, was shocked. They were flirting in public. Had they actually fallen for each other? Before Tanjiro could process this, Ryaji activated Form 13, Real Judgment. The moment Ryaji's hand neared his hilt, Shinobu, thinking he was about to kill her, reacted instantly, leaping back to create distance. However, her evasion was useless within the attack range. Judgment was unavoidable. Dense sword energy surrounded Shinobu. It was gentle yet powerful enough to shred her clothes. In a second, her clothes were torn, revealing her skin to Ryaji and the hidden division members. Ryaji showed mercy, preventing her complete nudity. He wasn't afraid to, but with so many people present, he wasn't willing to risk the consequences of providing an unexpected show for the members. If it were just the two of them, Ryaji would have left her completely naked. After all, he wouldn't want to shortchange himself. Ryaji's control was perfect. The sword energy only shredded her clothes, not harming her. His mastery of breathing techniques allowed for such precise manipulation. Shinobu, unaware of his sword energy attack and its inevitability, instinctively covered herself. Despite this, Tanjiro, behind Shinobu, had a clear view of her exposed back. Though he shyly averted his gaze, the fleeting image was seared into his memory. Shinobu hadn't expected Ryaji to turn the tables on her. Her plan had backfired spectacularly. Ahashira, humiliated in front of many members. This would ruin her reputation and become a favorite gossip topic among the demon slayers. Shinobu was furious and wanted to kill Ryaji. Ryaji! Her roar echoed through the clearing. The Shinazugawa brothers, approaching Ryaji, froze. Time seemed to stop. Everyone's gaze was fixed on Shinobu. Having unleashed her fury, Shinobu drew her Nichiren blade. Seeing this, Ryaji said, "If you don't want to become a nude model, come on. When you leaned in, you should have known it wasn't just you who could play games." Shinobu froze. She knew Ryaji could do it, and she wasn't confident she could kill him. 254, Chapter 254. Ryaji's words gave Shinobu no room for argument. He was right. If you try to tease someone, be prepared to be teased back. She hadn't expected him to see through her. She'd underestimated him. But his boldness left a lasting impression on her. "Ryaji, you'll pay for this," Shinobu warned. Ryaji found Shinobu's persistence annoying. He didn't appreciate her personality type. "I think we should keep our distance. I don't want to get entangled with you," Ryaji said. Even though Shinobu was beautiful, he wasn't interested in getting involved. "You?" Shinobu was taken aback. His words were a blow. She'd tried to befriend him, but he clearly wasn't interested. She'd been completely delusional, and it felt like a humiliation. Seeing Shinobu almost in tears, Ryaji said nothing. He went to Tanjiro, removed his outer robe, leaving Tanjiro bewildered. Ryaji took the robe to Shinobu. "Wear this for now." Shinobu was even more confused. Did he have multiple personalities? Nevertheless, she accepted the robe and quickly put it on. She needed to maintain appearances. "As I said, let's keep our distance," Ryaji repeated. Shinobu wondered if she'd been too forward, causing him to react negatively. Or perhaps he disliked being casually flirted with. She realized she'd been overly aggressive. "You're just as cold as Jiu. No wonder your fellow disciples. But I'll remember this. We'll settle the score later," Shinobu said, ending the confrontation but not forgetting the incident. She walked away. Ryaji breathed a sigh of relief. If she hadn't left, he would have had no peace. However, everyone was still stunned. The hidden division members' gazes were fixed on Ryaji. They all wondered who he was to make Shinobu, Ahashira, so wary. Shinobu's reaction clearly indicated fear of Ryaji. Otherwise, being treated like that, she would have retaliated, even if she didn't kill him. After all, Ahashira's authority couldn't be challenged so easily. 255, Chapter 255. What surprised the hidden division members even more was Shinobu's forwardness towards a man, leading to inevitable misunderstandings. Whispers erupted among the crowd, replacing the previous silence with a buzz of conversation. The gossip centered on Ryaji and Shinobu. Rumors about them began to spread. Shinobu heard the whispers but couldn't stop them. Since Ryaji was also being discussed, she accepted the damage to her reputation. Shinazugawa Jinya stiffly turned to his brother, Shinazugawa Sanemi, exclaiming, "Sanemi, who is this senior Ryaji? To dare tease the insect Hashira like that, what audacity!" But why didn't the insect Hashira retaliate? Is there some unknown connection between them? Sanemi was also shocked by the events and couldn't answer his brother's question. He didn't know much about Ryaji, only recalling the Demon Slayer selection. After the shock subsided, Jinya approached Ryaji and Tanjiro with a bright smile, respectfully addressing Ryaji as Senior Ryaji. Having witnessed Ryaji's power, even as a rank-and-file member, Ryaji was far stronger than Jinya, a high-ranking member. Even without considering the incident with Shinobu, Ryaji's ability to take on 2 lower-rank demons alone proved his strength. Jinya didn't know if Ryaji had killed the demons, but seeing him alive meant they hadn't been able to harm him. "Senior Ryaji, it's great you're alright. If it weren't for you, my brother and I would have died on Spider Mountain." Jinya's attitude was completely different from their first meeting. He now held immense respect for Ryaji. Ryaji smiled faintly. "Protecting you was my duty. Someone has to step up in times of crisis." Seeing Tanjiro and Ina shook on the stretchers, Sanemi inquired about their condition. Tanjiro briefly explained what happened. While Tanjiro recounted his ordeal, Ryaji remembered Zenitsu Agatsuma. He wondered if Zenitsu had rejoined the main force. With so many demon slayers deployed to Spider Mountain, Zenitsu should have encountered them at the base. Ryaji told Tanjiro he'd check on Zenitsu nearby. Tanjiro, remembering Zenitsu, wasn't too worried. Zenitsu hadn't entered the mountain and shouldn't be in danger. However, unbeknownst to Tanjiro and Ryaji, Zenitsu later entered the mountain alone, worried about Nezuko. Ryaji moved through the camp, searching for the blonde-haired Zenitsu among the hundreds of people. 256, Chapter 256. Seeing Ryaji's patrol, the hidden division members wondered what he was looking for. Shinobu, sitting by a bonfire, also noticed Ryaji. She considered asking him what he was doing, but fearing rejection, she decided against it. Ryaji soon approached Shinobu's area and spotted her by the bonfire. He didn't approach but glanced to the side, noticing another girl with long, straight bangs. Ryaji stopped, his gaze fixed on her. He didn't recognize her but had seen her before, the only female participant in the final selection. He'd even asked Tanjiro to invite her to join their team, but she'd refused. Seeing her again surprised him. To survive as a demon slayer, she must be skilled. Her presence beside Shinobu indicated a close relationship. Ryaji's keen observation quickly noticed matching butterfly hair ornaments on both Shinobu and the girl. This confirmed his suspicions. Seeing Ryaji staring intently at her adopted daughter, Kaneo Tsuyuri, Shinobu assumed he had designs on Kaneo and couldn't tolerate it. She approached him, stopping directly in front of him. Shinobu, barely reaching 1.5 meters, had to look up to see Ryaji's face. Noticing Shinobu, Ryaji shifted his attention to her. "Something." Despite his earlier prank, Shinobu showed no displeasure, maintaining her smile. "I should be asking you that. What are you doing sneaking around? I've been watching you. You've been looking around, are you checking out the pretty girls? I saw you staring at Kaneo. Do you have a crush on her?" Shinobu asked directly, without hesitation. "Kaneo." Ryaji was surprised. Hearing Shinobu say the girl's name confirmed his guess. "So that's her name?" "I was right, you two are close," Ryaji said with a faint smile. "She's my adopted daughter, my successor," Shinobu replied. "I see," Ryaji understood. A successor chosen by a Hashira Kaneo must be incredibly strong. "I've answered your questions. Now it's your turn. What were you doing sneaking around?" Shinobu pressed, feeling he should reciprocate. "Looking for someone," Ryaji replied, leaving Shinobu exasperated. 257, Chapter 257. Hearing Ryaji's two-word answer, Shinobu felt brushed off. "Who are you looking for?" Shinobu mimicked his tone. "You wouldn't know him," Ryaji replied indifferently. Shinobu clenched her fists, suppressing the urge to punch him. He was right, she wouldn't know him. Is this person male or female? What are their distinguishing features? "I'll have people help you search." Shinobu changed her approach. Seeing Shinobu's naturally helpful nature, Ryaji decided to be less cold. He thought about Zenitsu's easily recognizable features. "I'm looking for a blonde male member named Zenitsu Agatsuma. He has a tendency to cling to beautiful women. Keep an eye out for him," Ryaji said. Shinobu chuckled. Ryaji had such a friend. She recalled a blonde male member she'd encountered on the west side of Spider Mountain. He'd been poisoned, so she hadn't noticed his tendency to cling to women. He'd been unable to speak, so she hadn't asked his name. However, she suspected it was him. I did encounter a blonde male member, but he didn't cling to me, Shinobu said to Ryaji. She intended to tease him, but Ryaji wasn't falling for it. He turned to leave. He left because of Shinobu's last sentence. Knowing Zenitsu's personality, he would have clung to Shinobu, a beautiful woman. Ryaji didn't think it was Zenitsu. However, it was indeed Zenitsu, but the poison had incapacitated him. Hey, where are you going? Shinobu was confused. Was he so sure it wasn't Zenitsu? That person isn't him. With his personality, if he saw you, he'd be clinging to you, begging you to marry him. It's not him, Ryaji said without turning back. Shinobu found Ryaji's friend amusing. You might be wrong. He was poisoned when I met him. In that state, do you think he could cling to me? Ryaji stopped. Shinobu's smile grew triumphant. She'd finally gained the upper hand. Ryaji stopped because Shinobu mentioned the blonde member was poisoned. While he wasn't sure it was Zenitsu, his concern and worry about Zenitsu's whereabouts prompted him to investigate further. 258 Chapter 258. If Shinobu had really encountered Zenitsu, how did he get poisoned? He should have been safe at the base. Did something happen afterward? Since their group had separated from Zenitsu, Ryaji couldn't say for sure what had happened to him. Ryaji turned to Shinobu and said directly, "Take me to the person you mentioned." "Okay, but beforehand, let's agree to be friendly. Is that all right?" Shinobu tried to improve their relationship. "Fine. As long as you don't cross my lines, we're friends," Ryaji replied. Shinobu understood what he meant and asked, "So, Nezuko is very important to you. Is she family? Your fiancé?" Ryaji didn't answer, saying, "That's none of your business. Take me to the person you mentioned." Seeing Ryaji's unwillingness to answer, Shinobu didn't push further and took him to the poisoned Zenitsu. Shinobu led Ryaji to a group of mummified patients. These are poisoned patients, but the poisoning wasn't severe, so they haven't fully transformed into human-headed spiders. Zenitsu should be among them. Don't worry, they've received antidotes. The transformation has stopped, but recovery will take a while. Ryaji looked at the tightly wrapped patients, only their nostrils and eyes visible. Finding Zenitsu would be difficult. "So, I have to identify him myself?" Ryaji asked Shinobu jokingly. Shinobu scratched her head. "It's okay. Your friend's poisoning wasn't severe. When I found him, he was conscious. Call his name, he'll react." Zenitsu had received the antidote some time ago, so Shinobu thought he should be able to control his body again. Ryaji agreed, but before he could call Zenitsu's name, he saw a mummy leaning against a tree trunk shaking violently. It fell to the ground and rolled. Ryaji smiled. "No need. He's signaling himself." He approached the fallen patient, helped him up, looked into his eyes, and asked, "Zenitsu, is that you?" The mummy made a muffled sound. Ryaji patted Zenitsu. "You're all right. Rest and recover. We'll talk later." Zenitsu was then moved to Tanjiro. Tanjiro, seeing Ryaji carrying a mummy, asked, "Senior Ryaji, what's on your shoulder?" Zenitsu. 259 Chapter 259. Hearing Ryaji mention Zenitsu, Tanjiro was surprised and asked, "What happened to Zenitsu?" Ryaji set Zenitsu down and explained the situation. Tanjiro then learned what had happened to Zenitsu. He'd clearly been in danger, but the specifics would have to wait until Zenitsu recovered. Ryaji, Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inashuk were finally reunited. Jiyu Tomioka's inspection lasted until dawn. He returned to the Demon Slayer Corps' camp at daybreak. After Jiyu's return, the Demon Slayers began withdrawing from Spider Mountain, heading towards headquarters. Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inashuk were cared for by hidden division members, while Ryaji walked with Jiyu and Shinobu in the center of the group. By noon, they reached Demon Slayer Corps headquarters. The headquarters were located on a flat mountainside, with numerous wisteria trees planted. Following the mountain path, Ryaji arrived at the expansive headquarters. The site was like a paradise. Large and small buildings were scattered around, resembling a palace. The group first arrived at a spacious plaza paved with large, smooth stones. Ryaji looked around. The 200 to 300 square meter plaza was the center, with paths leading to various buildings. The plaza was clearly for ceremonies or events. Shinobu and Jiyu stopped, while the hidden division members continued with the injured along the paths extending from the plaza. The two hidden members carrying Tanjiro also stopped beside Shinobu and Jiyu. Shinobu then said to Ryaji, "You and Tanjiro need to see the master with Jiyu and me. You've violated core rules." Ryaji immediately understood. They'd been brought back for punishment. We were brought back for punishment. The Demon Slayer Corps went to a lot of trouble, Ryaji chuckled wryly. But fine. Let's see how the Demon Slayer Corps punishes me for violating the rules. His tone shifted, his demeanor turning cold. Shinobu said nothing. She didn't want Ryaji punished, but their violation was a fact. Ignoring it would damage the Corps' authority. Ryaji, led by Shinobu, waited outside a courtyard. Tanjiro sensed the seriousness of the situation and felt anxious. Knowing Ryaji's temperament, severe punishment could lead to a major conflict with the Demon Slayer Corps. A hidden division member guarding the courtyard quickly retreated inside upon seeing Shinobu and Jiyu, presumably to deliver a message. 260, Chapter 260. While Ryaji waited, another group entered the courtyard. He sensed powerful auras. They were the other Hashira. Ryaji counted 5 people. A large man with a Buddhist rosary around his neck and no pupils in his eyes was the most striking. He was the tallest and most imposing, likely over 2 meters tall. Another was a white-haired man with a ponytail, carrying 2 double-blade swords, and a muscular build, only slightly shorter than the rosary-wearing man. The third was a man with long yellow hair, different from Zenitsu's. His hair had red tips, unlike Zenitsu's entirely yellow hair. He was of average height, similar to Ryaji, but much more muscular, a very sunny and masculine man. The remaining 2 were women of similar height to Shinobu. The pink-haired woman had a fantastic figure. If Shinobu's figure was a compact car, this woman's was a large sports car. A sports car is naturally superior. She not only had a great figure but also a more revealing style than Shinobu. Even without looking directly, Ryaji could see her cleavage. Her short skirt further showcased her beautiful legs. The other woman wore a dark blue robe, with long black hair, dressed as conservatively as Shinobu. Her only flaw was a flat chest. However, her naturally cute and innocent expression was endearing. But as Ryaji looked away, he noticed a distinct Adam's apple. He was shocked. She was a man. This made him and Inashuka-like, men with feminine features. The 5 approached Shinobu, observing Ryaji and Tanjiro. Tanjiro asked, "Who are you?" The 2 hidden members carrying the stretcher, seeing Tanjiro's ignorance of the Hashira, stepped forward. They are some of the 9 Hashira of the Demon Slayer Corps. This most imposing figure is the stone Hashira, Himejima Gyomei. The hidden members knelt before the large man with the rosary, formally introducing him. This equally imposing figure is the sound Hashira, Uzui Tengen. They introduced the white-haired man with the double-blade swords. This kind and incredibly strong Hashira is the flame Hashira, Kyojuro Rengoku. They introduced the sunny blonde man. This very cute boy is the mist Hashira, Tokaito Muchiro. They introduced the boy with feminine features, similar to Inashuk. This woman with a devilish figure, considered the flower of the Corps by the members, is the love Hashira Mitsurai Kenroji. They introduced the pink-haired woman. 261, Chapter 261. And of course, let's not forget the insect Hashira, Shinobu Koko, and the water Hashira, Jiyu Tomioka, who rescued you at Spider Mountain. The 2 hidden members concluded their introductions. Shinobu stepped forward with a smile. Before the judgment, let's clarify the crimes. Before she finished, Rengoku Kyojuro excitedly interrupted, "No need for a trial. Protecting a demon clearly violates the rules. We can handle this. Let's behead them and the demon. Then let me decapitate them in a dazzling display. Let the blood splatter beautifully. More dazzling than anyone." Uzui Tengen added. Hearing Rengoku and Uzui, Mitsurai Kenroji felt a pang of sympathy. Oh dear, to kill such refined and cute boys. My heart aches. I can't bear it. Ah, such pitiful children, born into this world. Himejima Gyomei, his eyes only showing whites, sadly shed tears. Tokaito Muchiro remained spaced out, his thoughts elsewhere. Hearing the Hashira talk about killing him, Tanjiro stood from the stretcher and leaned towards Ryaji. "Senior Ryaji, what do we do?" Tanjiro whispered. "Don't worry, with me, you and Nezuko are safe," Ryaji calmly reassured him. Though Ryaji didn't raise his voice, the Hashira clearly heard him. They didn't mock him but watched him impassively. Ryaji, don't be impulsive. The Demon Slayer Core Master will decide, Shinobu cautioned. Throughout the journey, Shinobu had been watching the cedarwood box on Ryaji's back, worried Nezuko might cause trouble. But it had remained calm, as if it didn't contain a demon. This made her understand why Ryaji protected Nezuko. Perhaps she held something worth protecting, and her sister's ideals might be realized through Nezuko. The two observing, hidden members' hearts pounded. They were shocked and looked at Ryaji with a chilling feeling down their spines. These weren't the members Ryaji had saved during the selection, so they hadn't witnessed his strength. They thought he was crazy for being so arrogant. These were Hashira, not just top-ranking members. Jiyu Tomioka, Ryaji and Tanjiro's senior, stood far away, seemingly unconcerned about their predicament. 262, Chapter 262. More importantly, I'm more concerned about how to deal with Tomioka. Just as the atmosphere reached its peak of tension, a man with heterochromia iridium dropped from a tree in the courtyard. One eye was yellow, the other blue, a strikingly unusual appearance. He wore a black and white striped shirt, a bandage over his mouth, and a small white python wrapped around his neck, occasionally flicking its tongue. The two hidden members immediately bowed deeply. Iguro Obanai-sama. This man, Iguro Obanai, was the serpent Hashira. He approached Jiyu Tomioka. Just seeing him unbound gives me a headache. According to the Crow's report 2 years ago, Tomioka let that demon, Nezuko, go. How do we deal with this? What responsibility should he bear? And then what happens to him? Jiyu Tomioka remained silent, not even glancing at Iguro Obanai. Iguro Obanai pointed at him. Say something, Tomioka. Shinobu and Tanjiro looked at Jiyu Tomioka. Shinobu was surprised to learn Nezuko was the demon Jiyu had released 2 years prior. This was unusual. Shinobu knew Jiyu never showed mercy to demons. Why would he let Nezuko go? She was curious about what had happened. Tanjiro looked at Jiyu with concern. He hadn't expected Jiyu's decision from 2 years ago to become grounds for reprimand. No rush. He's here. Let's decide on the punishment after the master arrives, Shinobu quickly interjected. Before we deal with Tomioka, I want to ask Ryaji and Tanjiro Kamadu why you're carrying a demon. We've made it clear. Protecting a demon violates the rules. No need to ask. Let me kill them now. Uzui Tengen couldn't contain himself, placing his hands on the Nichiren blades on his back. Simultaneously, Ryaji gripped his Nichiren blade. Seeing Ryaji and Uzui about to fight, Shinobu stepped between them. Enough. Uzui Tengen calmed down, crossing his arms. But Ryaji still held his blade. Ryaji, please listen to me. Shinobu pleaded, her eyes showing a hint of desperation. Ryaji knew she was stalling and lowered his blade. Butterflies angry. That's rare, Mitsurai Kanroji noted Shinobu's unusual anger. Nezuko is my sister, so I've been carrying her. Senior Ryaji said he could turn her back into a human. With Senior Tomioka's recommendation, we became disciples of Seikanji Urokadaki and Demon Slayer Core Swordsman, Tanjiro explained. 263, Chapter 263. While I was away, Muzan Kibutsuji attacked my home. My family was murdered, and only Nezuko was turned into a demon by Muzan Kibutsuji. But Nezuko has never eaten a human, not before, and never will. Tanjiro finished, and Iguro Obanai turned to him with disgust, pointing. Don't spout such nonsense. Turning a demon back into a human is impossible. You're only protecting her because she's your family. You're not credible. I don't believe you. Himejima Gyomei began twisting another rosary, weeping. Ah, possessed by a demon's soul. Let's quickly kill this poor child and release him from his suffering. Shinobu looked at Ryaji. Was he protecting Nezuko so desperately to turn her back into a human? Was that even possible? What motivated him? And why Nezuko, not other demons? I became a swordsman with Senior Ryaji to cure Nezuko. She's been a demon for over 2 years. In those 2 years, Nezuko has never harmed anyone and never shown any desire to eat humans. Tanjiro continued his desperate defense. Uzui Tengen, a man of action, ignored Tanjiro's explanation. You're just beating around the bush, idiot. If she hasn't eaten humans and won't, prove it. Tanjiro looked at Ryaji. His words were useless, it was up to Ryaji. Ryaji remained impassive, watching the Hashira. Mitsurai Kanroji, blushing, shyly spoke, The The master must know about this. Is it really alright for us to handle this ourselves? She cautiously looked at the others, clearly afraid of saying the wrong thing. Let's wait for the master, she suggested. Silence followed. Seeing Ryaji remain silent, like Jiyu Tomioka, Shinobu sighed and asked, Ryaji, don't you have anything to say? No, Ryaji replied indifferently. He saw no need to explain. He didn't need their understanding. The worst outcome would be a conflict, making Tanjiro, Nezuko, and himself targets of the Demon Slayer Corps. He wasn't afraid. They could go their separate ways. Shinobu chuckled wryly. You're as difficult as Tomioka. She glanced at Jiyu. A man with spiky white hair entered the courtyard, his tone unfriendly. Hey, I can't miss out on such interesting events. 264, Chapter 264. The man who appeared had a fierce look and a strong, violent aura. His most noticeable features were the scars visible on his face, chest, and stomach. These scars suggested an extremely aggressive fighting style. The scarred man quickly approached Ryaji, glaring menacingly, clearly looking for a fight. The two hidden members were startled. Sanemi Shinazugawa-sama. You're here. This final arrival was Sanemi Shinazugawa, the Wind Hashira. With him, all 9 Hashira were now present before Ryaji and Tanjiro. So, this is the idiot carrying a demon? Sanemi Shinazugawa asked, staring intently at Ryaji. Seeing Ryaji unfazed, Sanemi turned to Tanjiro. What were you saying? That a demon wouldn't eat humans? That you believe this white-haired brat's nonsense, that demons can be turned back into humans? That's impossible. You're an idiot. Sanemi immediately drew his Nichiren blade and swung it at Ryaji. Sanemi's Nichiren blade had 2 shades of green with a unique pattern, but it wasn't a true dual-colored blade. Ryaji had sensed Sanemi's intense hostility the moment he stood before him, so the sudden attack wasn't unexpected. However, as Sanemi attacked, Ryaji's blade was already drawn, blocking Sanemi's attack. The collision of the 2 Nichiren blades produced a sharp clang, sparks flying. The moment Ryaji's dual-colored Nichiren blade was drawn, it immediately caught the attention of Shinobu, Jiyu, and the other Hashira. They had never seen a Nichiren blade with 2 different colors before. Mitsurai Kanroji exclaimed in surprise, wow, his Nichiren blade is so unique. It has both blue and green. I've never seen anything like it. Shinobu also focused on Ryaji's dual-colored Nichiren blade. Knowing Demon Slayer history well, she knew there were no records of a Demon Slayer's blade having 2 different colors. Even Sanemi's blade, while having 2 shades, was only variations of the same color. Ryaji's blade, however, was truly 2 distinctly different colors. Shinobu was surprised by Ryaji's reaction. He'd effortlessly blocked Sanemi's sudden attack. His calm demeanor clearly showed great confidence in his abilities. Tanjiro, move. Ryaji said to Tanjiro after blocking Sanemi's attack. Tanjiro quickly moved to stand beside Jiyu Tomioka. Besides Ryaji, Jiyu was the only person here who would definitely not harm him. As Tanjiro moved, the sound of clashing metal rang out again as Ryaji and Sanemi exchanged several more blows. Mitsurai Kanroji was internally thrilled. They're fighting. They're fighting. Both of them are so awesome. 265, Chapter 265. Sanemi Shinazugawa hadn't expected Ryaji to be so strong. He'd initially thought blocking his surprise attack was a fluke, but Ryaji continued to hold his own. While Sanemi hadn't used any techniques, neither had Ryaji. Sanemi sensed Ryaji's breath was steady and even, indicating he wasn't using his full strength. Of course, Sanemi wasn't using his full strength either. He'd only used simple attacks. Seeing Ryaji still had reserves, Sanemi shouted excitedly, "Brat, you're confident in your skills. Let's see what you're really made of." Sanemi attacked with increased force, delivering a powerful downward strike. Ryaji blocked, but the force pushed him back a meter. The 2 hidden members watching were overwhelmed by the intensity of the fight, breaking out in a cold sweat. They hadn't expected Ryaji to actually fight a Hashira, but the expected beatdown wasn't happening. Instead, they were witnessing something astonishing. Ryaji was holding his own against the brutal Wind Hashira, proving to be incredibly powerful. They began to think Ryaji might become the 10th Hashira. After pushing Ryaji back, Sanemi used a wind-breathing technique. Wind breathing, second form, claws purifying wind. Wind breathing, second form, claws purifying wind. This technique unleashes 4 powerful claw-shaped wind blades, tearing the opponent to shreds. Sanemi swung his blade, unleashing 4 massive claw-shaped wind blades towards Ryaji, lifting small stones from the ground. Mitsurai Kanroji's heart pounded. He's getting serious. He's getting serious. Can that handsome young man handle this? She clenched her fists. Shinobu hadn't expected Sanemi to get serious and worried about Ryaji. Ahashira's techniques were incredibly powerful. Ryaji wasn't to be outdone and used a final level breathing technique. Ultimate technique, water breathing, first form, water surface slash. Ryaji could have dodged Sanemi's claws of the gale wind, but he chose not to. He needed to show Sanemi he wasn't someone to be trifled with. Ryaji slashed at the 4 wind blades. The water surging from his blade formed a water dragon that shattered the wind blades. Seizing the opportunity, Sanemi closed in and used another deadly technique. Wind breathing, 8th form, primary gale slash. Wind breathing, 8th form, primary gale slash. This technique allows the user to approach the enemy, using the wind's momentum to move behind them undetected before unleashing a devastating spinning slash. The spinning slash creates powerful spiral wind blades. 266, Chapter 266. However, when Ryaji was closed in on, he didn't panic. He decisively countered with his 12th form, Dark Blade Slaughter. Ultimate technique, water breathing, 12th form, Dark Blade Slaughter. Ryaji drew his Nichiren blade from his waist. Dense water blades, laced with sharp sword energy, erupted around him. The ultimate technique altered the attack's form. The original Dark Blade Slaughter, which only dealt sword energy damage, now included water blade damage, significantly increasing its power. Previously, while Ryaji was proficient in water breathing, the technique wasn't fully mastered, and his breathing wasn't sufficient to combine sword energy and water blades. His 12th form was a half-finished product. Now, with the ultimate technique, Dark Blade Slaughter reached its final form. As the water blades formed, a water dragon coiled around them. Ryaji's water blades blocked Sanemi's spinning slash and collided with the spiral wind blades. Water splashed around Ryaji. The process was swift in an instant. Sanemi's primary gale slash was overpowered by Ryaji's Dark Blade Slaughter. Sanemi's wind blades were shattered. Without the protection of his wind blades, Sanemi suffered sword energy damage, sustaining several wounds. He was sent flying backward. The water blades and sword energy around Ryaji dissipated. The outcome surprised everyone. Sanemi Shinazugawa had lost to Ryaji. Sanemi, though not seriously injured, wanted to fight again, but Ryaji appeared before him, his Nichiren blade at Sanemi's neck. "Looks like you're in a hurry to be reincarnated," Ryaji said calmly. Sanemi froze, then glared angrily. "Brat, don't think you can break the Demon Slayer Corps' rules just because you're strong. Go ahead and do it." Ha ha ha. Ryaji wasn't provoked. This was his future father-in-law's home, and he didn't want to escalate the situation. Mitsurai Kanroji thought to herself, "Inashuk lost. That new handsome guy is amazing." Shinobu hadn't expected this outcome. She hadn't been able to intervene in time and had worried about Ryaji. Even if Ryaji had lost, as long as he survived Sanemi's attack, she would have had a chance to intervene. Shinobu looked at Jiyu Tomioka, who was also focused on Ryaji, but his face showed no surprise. 267, Chapter 267. Shinobu recalled Jiyu Tomioka's warning on Spider Mountain. He'd told her not to provoke Ryaji. Did he know about Ryaji's strength? Could Jiyu have released Nezuko 2 years ago because he couldn't defeat Ryaji? Was he forced to let Nezuko live? Shinobu's thoughts spread like vines. Ryaji's victory over Sanemi Shinazugawa was primarily due to mastering the ultimate technique of his breathing style, resulting in a qualitative leap in his strength. Without the reward from the 1-on-2 mission, defeating Sanemi at his proficient level would have been difficult. Ryaji might have needed demonification to win. Also, when Sanemi got behind him, Ryaji realized his target wasn't him, but Nezuko in the cedarwood box. However, Sanemi miscalculated. He hadn't expected Ryaji to have no blind spots on his back. Uzui Tengen smiled faintly. "This is adding insult to injury. A fight between members. And you even injured Inashuk." Iguro Obanai showed his dislike for Ryaji. "Another one like Tomioka." Shinobu defended Ryaji. Inashuk started the fight. Ryaji was only defending. "If anyone's guilty, it's Inashuk." Sanemi objected. "I was trying to kill the demon in the box. That's not a fight." He pointed at Ryaji. That brat's protecting the demon. He's unforgivable. He then pointed at Shinobu. Shinobu, you're defending him, just like Tomioka. You're both protecting a demon. You're all guilty. Shinobu was speechless, caught off guard by Sanemi's accusation. Shinobu quickly brought up the master. One thing at a time. You started the fight. The master will decide. Ignoring the master is unacceptable. Shinobu had regained some ground, but the tension remained. The master has arrived. Two young girls with white hair and large eyes, wearing kimonos with wisteria patterns, appeared on the courtyard's viewing platform. Everyone looked towards the platform. Seeing the two girls, Ryaji chuckled. Apparently, Amini Yubayashiki had a twin sister. As Ryaji tried to identify his future wife, the girl on his right looked at him. After a brief exchange of glances, Ryaji knew it was Amini and smiled faintly. It wasn't the time to talk, so he simply smiled and did nothing further. 268 Chapter 268 A man emerged from the house. He had shoulder-length, center-parted hair, and the most striking feature was the scar that covered half his face. The scars didn't look like injuries, they seemed to be caused by some kind of disease. Because of these scars, he had no eyebrows. Honestly, his appearance could easily be mistaken for a monster, and he might be scorned. But he didn't seem to care about his appearance. He wore no mask and had a faint smile. Ryaji recognized him as the Demon Slayer Corps' master, Kaguya Yubayashiki, his future father-in-law. Thank you all for coming, my dear children, Kaguya Yubayashiki said politely to everyone in the courtyard, his voice soft and gentle, soothing and calming. Amini and her twin sister approached Kaguya, taking his hands and leading him to the viewing platform. The three arrived at the platform, sunlight illuminating Kaguya. Good morning, everyone. The weather is lovely today. Is the sky blue? Kaguya formally greeted the assembled group. No one answered. Ryaji looked at the sky. It's quite blue. Kaguya turned to Ryaji, looked at him, and replied, is that so? He then turned to the others. It's time for the biannual Hashira meeting. It's good to see the familiar faces. While Ryaji was looking at the sky, Sanemi Shinazugawa, whose neck had been held by Ryaji's blade, had escaped. When Ryaji looked down, Sanemi was gone. Turning around, he saw everyone kneeling before Kaguya Yubayashiki. Even the irritable Sanemi Shinazugawa was kneeling obediently, along with the two hidden members. Tanjiro was kneeling on one knee beside Jiyu Tomioka. Jiyu was holding Tanjiro's neck, forcing him to bow. Shinobu kept looking at Ryaji, urging him with her eyes to bow to Kaguya. Ryaji understood but had no intention of doing so. Sanemi Shinazugawa shouted, "Brat! What are you doing standing there? Bow to the master." Ryaji turned to Kaguya. "Master, I don't think that's necessary." Sanemi was furious and almost attacked Ryaji. Just as Sanemi was about to reprimand Ryaji, Kaguya smiled faintly at Ryaji. "Very well, step aside for now." 269 Chapter 269 Ryaji stepped aside. Kaguya Yubayashiki's words and attitude shocked Sanemi Shinazugawa and surprised Shinobu and the other Hashira. Kaguya was surprisingly lenient towards Ryaji. Damn it! Sanemi gritted his teeth, unable to accept Ryaji's defiance. Shinobu stared at Ryaji. Seeing his white hair, a dramatic thought occurred to her. Could Ryaji be Kaguya Yubayashiki's illegitimate son? After all, he had the same white hair as Kaguya's daughters. She thought only that could explain Kaguya's leniency. Sanemi addressed Kaguya. "Master, before the Hashira meeting, you need to explain Jiyu Tomioka, Ryaji, and Tanjiro Kamado's violation of the rules. Protecting a demon is a serious offense. They should be executed. Otherwise, anyone can break the rules." Kaguya apologized. "I've given this serious consideration. I've accepted Ryaji, Tanjiro, and Nezuko. I hope you'll accept them as well." Himejima Gyome was the first to object. "Even if you say so, master, I can't accept it." Uzui Tengen followed. "I also object. I will not accept a demon slayer who carries a demon." Mitsurai Kanroji took the opposite stance. "I'll follow the master's orders." Tokaido Muchiro was indifferent. "I don't care. I'll forget about it soon." Shinobu remained silent, as did Jiyu Tomioka, who'd already made his decision 2 years prior. After a few seconds of silence, Iguro Obanai shook his head. "Unbelievable, but I hate demons." He could tolerate Ryaji, Tanjiro, and Jiyu, but not Nezuko. Rengoku Kyojuro stated his position. Master, I deeply respect you, but I can't understand this decision. I strongly object. Sanemi Shinazugawa emphasized his point. The Demon Slayer Corps' duty is to kill demons. Please order the execution of Jiyu Tomioka, Ryaji, and Tanjiro Kamado. Kaguya remained calm, unmoved, and spoke to his daughter. Bring out the letter. His twin daughter responded, yes. She took a letter from her bosom, opened the envelope, and read it. This is a letter from the former water Hashira, Urokadaka Seikanji. I'll read it loud. 270, Chapter 270. Tanjiro focused on the letter, curious about what his master had written. I implore you to allow Ryaji, Tanjiro, and Tanjiro's demon sister to act together. Nezuko, with her strong willpower, has retained her humanity and hasn't eaten humans even when hungry. This has lasted for over 2 years. It's unbelievable, but it's true. If Nezuko attacks a human, Ryaji, Tanjiro Kamado, Urokadaka Seikanji, and Jiyu Tomioka will kill Nezuko and then commit seppuku to atone. The twin sister finished reading and put the letter back in the envelope. Ryaji hadn't expected his master to mention him. To get the Corps to accept Nezuko, he'd made such a decision. If all 4 of them committed seppuku, would the water-breathing lineage be lost? Sanemi Shinazugawa didn't relent. So what if they commit seppuku? Let them die. What kind of guarantee is that? Rengoku Kyojuro agreed. Inashuk's right. If Nezuko eats a human, it's over. Kaguya agreed. Indeed. Sanemi thought Kaguya had changed his mind and was excited. Kaguya continued, we can't guarantee Nezuko won't attack, but we can't prove she will either. This was a setback for Sanemi, silencing his next words. Kaguya continued, Nezuko hasn't eaten humans for over 2 years, a fact confirmed by Urokadaka Seikanji. 4 people are willing to stake their lives on it. To reject this, you must provide stronger evidence. Are you prepared for that? The objecting Hashira fell silent. Kaguya continued, also, I must tell you, Ryaji and Tanjiro encountered Muzan Kibutsuji. This shocked many. Sanemi Shinazugawa looked at Ryaji, as did Shinobu. Uzui Tengen was agitated. No way. No Hashira has encountered Muzan Kibutsuji. These 2 brats did. He almost uncontrollably lunged towards Ryaji. He suppressed the urge, but his movement knocked Mitsurai Kanroji to the ground. Uzui, though restraining himself, asked Ryaji, what did he look like? What are his abilities? Where did you meet him? 271, Chapter 271. Did you fight them? Even Tokaido Michiro, usually the quietest Hashira, added to Uzui Tengen's question. Sanemi Shinazugawa slammed his fist onto the ground, joining the interrogation. What was Muzan doing? Did you find his hideout? Answer me, you disrespectful brat. Uzui Tengen, annoyed that Sanemi had interrupted, barked, shut up, I asked first. Tell us about Muzan's abilities. Ryaji showed no intention of answering, watching the unfolding scene with detached amusement. Kaguya Yubayashiki, witnessing the Hashira's bickering, raised a finger to his lips, signaling for silence. The room fell instantly quiet. Sanemi and Uzui ceased their argument immediately, their competitive spirits momentarily quelled by the master's subtle gesture. Once order was restored, Kaguya continued. Muzan sent lower moons to hunt down Ryaji and Tanjiro. 4 lower moons died at Ryaji's hands, but Muzan's pursuit won't stop easily. This is the first time we've had Muzan in our sights, and I'm not willing to let this opportunity slip away. I hope you understand. His gaze shifted to Ryaji. Nezuko may have undergone changes that even Muzan didn't foresee. The possibility of reverting a demon back to human form might be realized through her. Sanemi, despite the master's words, remained resolute. Master, I cannot comply. While I might spare a human, a demon is a different matter entirely. We, the Demon Slayer Corps, have risked our lives fighting demons, enduring immense sacrifices. I cannot accept Nezuko's existence within the Corps. Ryaji's eyes hardened at Sanemi's unwavering stance. The stronger Sanemi's resolve to kill Nezuko, the stronger Ryaji's own killing intent became. Nezuko's life was intrinsically linked to his. He couldn't afford to be eliminated by the system. Sanemi rose to his feet, addressing Ryaji with barely controlled fury. Brat! Dare you let me prove to you just how vile demons truly are. Sanemi didn't attempt to forcefully take the cedarwood box containing Nezuko from Ryaji, understanding that a direct confrontation would be unwise given Ryaji's demonstrated strength. Ryaji, anticipating Sanemi's plan to use his own blood to trigger Nezuko's demonic instincts, didn't immediately agree. Instead, he countered, "What if you can't prove it?" Sanemi, supremely confident, declared, "My blood is rare blood. No demon can resist its allure, not even that Nezuko, no matter how special she claims to be." A slight smile touched Ryaji's lips. So, the Wind Hashira's confidence rested on his rare bloodline. "Very well," Ryaji stated, his voice calm but unwavering. "If Nezuko doesn't attack you, possessing this rare blood, then you must accept Nezuko as a human, not a demon. But if, after this demonstration, you still fail to acknowledge her humanity, then I will kill you." The challenge hung heavy in the air, a high-stakes gamble with potentially devastating consequences for Sanemi. The fate of Nezuko, and perhaps the very future of the Demon Slayer Corps, rested on the outcome. The ensuing silence was thick with anticipation, broken only by the gentle rustling of the wisteria trees. 272 Chapter 272 Sanemi Shinazugawa, hearing Ryaji's threat, burst into laughter, adding a condition. "Since you're so eager, if Nezuko attacks me, you, she, Tanjiro Kamado, Jiyu Tomioka, and that old geezer Urokadaka Seikanji will all die." Shinobu was dismayed. The tense atmosphere, just calmed by Kaguya Yubayashiki, was once again pushed to the brink by Ryaji's words. She felt a significant headache coming on. Tanjiro felt a surge of anxiety. He wasn't sure if Nezuko could resist the rare blood's allure. For a demon, rare blood held the nutritional value of 50, perhaps even 100, people. "Agreed," Ryaji said without hesitation. Sanemi, eager to proceed, urged, "Then hand over the box. Let me prove it to you." Ryaji didn't immediately comply. While he agreed to the test, he needed to supervise. He wouldn't trust Sanemi with the box unsupervised, who knew what the volatile Hashira might do to Nezuko in a fit of rage. "The proof can be done, but I won't hand her over to you," Ryaji stated. Sanemi, believing himself to be mocked, exploded in anger. "You're playing me." Ryaji remained unconcerned. "Not at all. Nezuko doesn't need to be handed over. We just need to move somewhere without sunlight." Sanemi looked towards the interior of the viewing platform, a sunless space. "Master, please excuse my rudeness," Sanemi said to Kaguya Yubayashiki before leaping into the building. "Come on, brat." Sanemi called to Ryaji. Ryaji followed without delay, leaping into the building. Kaguya Yubayashiki and his daughters turned to watch Ryaji and Sanemi. The others in the courtyard also shifted their attention inside. Ryaji stood before Sanemi, placing the cedarwood box in front of him. He didn't rush to open it, instead saying, "Bleed." The wounds from Ryaji's water blades had already scabbed over, rendering the dried blood useless for attracting a demon. Sanemi, understanding this, drew his Nichiren blade and sliced his wrist, letting blood flow freely. He showed no hesitation, the wound seemingly insignificant to him. Seeing Sanemi's decisive action, Ryaji tore away the dark purple spider silk from the cedarwood box and opened the lid, addressing the cowering Nezuko. "Nezuko, come out. Show this stubborn fool." Nezuko emerged from the box. The sight of her immediately drew the attention of Hanjima, Uzui, Rengoku, Mitsurai, Tokito, and Iguro. All eyes were fixed upon her. 273 Chapter 273 Nezuko, remember you are human, not a demon. You mustn't harm humans. Tanjiro's urgent warning to Nezuko cut through the tense silence as she emerged. The lives of Ryaji, Tanjiro, Jiyu Tomioka, and Urokadaka Seikanji now hung precariously in the balance, entirely dependent on Nezuko's choice. Emerging from the box, Nezuko, after a quick glance at her unfamiliar surroundings, immediately pressed herself close to Ryaji, seeking refuge behind him. From there, she cautiously eyed the menacing Sanemi Shinazugawa across from them. Sanemi, goading Nezuko, sneered, "Come on. This is rare blood, you don't need to restrain yourself." Nezuko remained motionless behind Ryaji, showing no reaction. Sanemi's frustration grew. He turned to Ryaji, "You brat, move aside. She's not coming near because you're here." Seeing Sanemi's continued insistence, Ryaji gently pulled Nezuko forward, instructing her, "Stand before him. Prove you have absolutely no interest in him." As Nezuko stood before Sanemi, Ryaji remained on high alert, acutely aware of Sanemi's volatile nature and unwilling to risk Sanemi taking advantage of the situation to attack Nezuko. With Nezuko directly in front of him, Sanemi brought his bleeding hand to the top of her head. The blood flowed down, staining her hair and face. Sanemi's heart pounded with anticipation. The moment Nezuko reacted, he would have the perfect justification and the opportunity to eliminate her. Nezuko, upon feeling the blood on her hair and face, simply used her sleeve to wipe away the blood, showing no other reaction. The seconds stretched into minutes. Sanemi's blood continued to drip down Nezuko's face and into her clothing. Nezuko only occasionally wiped away the blood that threatened to drip into her eyes. Otherwise, she remained completely still. Ryaji, feigning a yawn to mask his growing impatience, finally spoke, his voice laced with sarcasm. "I say, it's been a while. Have you proven anything? Nezuko seems completely uninterested in you." Sanemi, unable to accept defeat, angrily retorted, "It's definitely because you're here, that's why she's not acting." Ryaji's eyes flashed cold. "Giving you this chance was already my biggest concession. If you want to die, just say so. I'll send you on your way right now." Sanemi. Kaguya Yubayashiki's warning cut through the tension. Kaguya immediately turned to his daughter, asking softly, "What's the situation?" Amini Yubayashiki reported calmly, "Nezuko remained standing before Sanemi. He dripped blood on her, but she remained unmoved, only occasionally wiping the blood from her face." Kaguya's inquiry revealed the extent of his visual impairment. Even if not completely blind, his vision in the dim light was undoubtedly severely compromised. 274, Chapter 274. Kaguya Yubayashiki's earlier question about the sky's color, asked while standing in sunlight, clearly indicated his eyes were sensitive to light, preventing him from looking up himself. After hearing his daughter's complete report, Kaguya stated, "This proves Nezuko won't attack humans." "Thank goodness." Tanjiro breathed a sigh of relief. Sanemi Shinazugawa, unwilling to accept this, scoffed and looked away, resigned to Ryaji's victory. Shinobu also felt relieved for Ryaji, inwardly commenting on his knack for creating heart-pounding situations. After all, Ryaji had slain 4 lower moons, a feat that placed him on par with the Hashira. Kaguya addressed Ryaji and Tanjiro, "Despite this, some may still not accept Nezuko. From now on, both of you must prove yourselves and Nezuko as Demon Slayer Corps members. Fight to protect the world's peace and tranquility." Tanjiro's resolve grew stronger. He would prove that Nezuko's transformation into a demon wasn't a tragedy. Kaguya continued, addressing Tanjiro directly, "Tanjiro, start by defeating a lower moon. That way, you'll gain everyone's acceptance, and your words will carry more weight, just like Ryaji's." Tanjiro thought of Ryaji's composure before the Hashira, and his unwavering strength against Sanemi Shinazugawa, forcing even the volatile Hashira to back down. Thanks to Ryaji, there was no longer any opposition. He felt a surge of pride for his friend. Inspired by Kaguya's words, Tanjiro's expression hardened with newfound determination, mirroring Ryaji's confidence. He declared, "Master, I will defeat Muzan Kibutsuji. I will use my blade to cut away everyone's prejudice against Nezuko." Kaguya smiled kindly at the suddenly overzealous Tanjiro. "You're not ready for that yet. Aim for defeating a lower moon first." Tanjiro, realizing his overconfidence, felt embarrassed. He could only stammer, "Yes." Pfft. Mitsurai Kenroji, unable to contain her amusement at Tanjiro's boastful words being so easily dismissed, stifled a laugh, her expression utterly adorable. "No, I can't laugh. No, no, no," she repeated to herself. Shinobu, also a woman, couldn't help but smile, hiding her face as she chuckled at Tanjiro's naive ambition. Kaguya continued, "The 9 Hashira of the Demon Slayer Corps each possess exceptional abilities. They've undergone grueling training and countless life-or-death battles to defeat the lower moons. That's why the Hashira are respected and receive preferential treatment. Therefore, Ryaji and Tanjiro, you must show them respect." Kaguya reminded Ryaji and Tanjiro to respect the Hashira, lest they all become as unruly as Ryaji. Of course, Kaguya understood that Ryaji's behavior was a direct response to Sanemi Shinazugawa's aggressive actions. 275, Chapter 275. "I understand," Tanjiro replied. Ryaji remained unconcerned. Respect was mutual. He wasn't obligated to show respect to those who targeted him. Kaguya Yubayashiki, sensing Ryaji's disinterest, didn't press the matter. He could easily read Ryaji's personality through his demeanor. Kaguya then addressed Sanemi Shinazugawa. Sanemi, you too, don't bully the younger ones. Sanemi, kneeling on one knee, responded, yes, sir. Ryaji, Tanjiro, your business is concluded. You may retire to rest, Kaguya offered, suggesting they leave. Shinobu seized the opportunity. Master, allow Ryaji and Tanjiro to recuperate at my butterfly mansion. She clapped her hands, instructing, someone, take them to the butterfly mansion. 2 hidden members immediately brought a stretcher. Tanjiro was gently laid upon it. They then addressed Ryaji with utmost respect. Ryaji-sama, please come with us. Witnessing Ryaji's power and the master's regard for him, they used an honorific title. Ryaji had Nezuko return to the box, cradling it as he left the building. He then followed the hidden members out of the courtyard. He hadn't wanted to stay anyway, so his departure was swift and decisive. After Ryaji and Tanjiro left, Kaguya Yabayashiki began the Hashira meeting. Guided by the 2 hidden members, Ryaji walked through the woods, eventually arriving at a large estate with numerous buildings. A bamboo fence surrounded the estate, and a torii gate bearing the inscription Butterfly Mansion stood at the entrance. Is anyone there? One hidden member called out, but after a moment, there was no response. Let's go inside, the other suggested. Ryaji, however, beat them to it, entering the Butterfly Mansion first. The interior was vast, filled with numerous buildings, with butterflies flitting everywhere. In the courtyard, Ryaji spotted Kaneo Tsuyuri standing by the pond, lost in thought. The hidden members approached her, intending to speak. Tanjiro recognized Kaneo instantly, the girl he'd met during the final selection, the only female participant. He remembered Ryaji speaking with her then. He was surprised to see her here, wondering about her identity and her presence at the Butterfly Mansion. One hidden member bowed before Kaneo, asking, with utmost respect, Miss Coco. We are here at Lady Butterfly's command. May we enter? Kaneo remained silent, simply staring at the hidden member. 276, Chapter 276. Hearing the hidden member address the girl as Miss Coco, Tanjiro's curiosity intensified. He knew she was a fellow graduate of the final selection, and should therefore hold a similar rank. The fact that a hidden member used an honorific title suggested she was someone exceptionally skilled, perhaps on par with Ryaji. Tanjiro turned to the hidden members, asking, do you know her? Can you tell me who she is? Ryaji answered for him, she's the heir to a Hashira, the successor chosen by Shinobu Koko. Her strength is certainly comparable to yours. Her full name is Kaneo Tsuyuri. Tanjiro now understood her identity. He was surprised that this quiet girl was a Hashira's successor. But how did Ryaji know all this? He shouldn't have known Kaneo. Just as Tanjiro pondered this, a girl's voice called from behind, what are you doing? Ryaji turned to see a girl with twin tails standing nearby. She was quite pretty, and her white robe gave her the air of a medical professional. Upon seeing Ryaji's handsome features, the girl blushed slightly. However, her attention was quickly drawn to the bloodstains on his outer garment, leading her to believe he was injured. The hidden members quickly explained, Lady Butterfly sent us. The girl, without further ado, led them inside, saying, you're from the hidden division, right? You're here to deliver injured people, aren't you? Follow me. Before leaving, Tanjiro glanced back at Kaneo, who remained silent. If he hadn't witnessed her rejecting Ryaji's advances during the final selection, he might have thought she was mute. Ryaji calmly said to Tanjiro, don't stare. Her world isn't so easily entered. Passing a room, Ryaji heard familiar shouting and stopped, peering inside. Inside, Zenitsu Agatsuma, his bandages removed, was writhing naked on the bed, protesting, what are you putting on me? It hurts. It feels like something's eating my body. Are you trying to kill me? Stop it. I barely survived. I haven't even gotten married yet. Unless someone here wants to marry me, you're not touching me. My body belongs to Nezuko. The girl applying the medicine looked troubled, sighing, this medicine helps your atrophied limbs regenerate. If you don't let us apply it, your limbs won't fully recover. Seeing Zenitsu's antics, Tanjiro felt a mixture of amusement and exasperation. The guy hadn't changed a bit. The girl stopped, looking towards the source of the commotion, complaining, what a troublesome guy. He won't even cooperate with his treatment. 277, Chapter 277. Really? Will it really be cured? How does it work? Explain it to me in detail. If I don't use it, will I turn back into a human spider? Zenitsu's incessant questions poured forth. The girl, unable to stand it any longer, stepped into the room and slapped Zenitsu, not his face, but his backside. It wasn't intentional. Zenitsu's constant rolling had caused the intended blow to his stomach to land on his rear instead. The slap caused Zenitsu to spasm uncontrollably, his body seizing up like a glitching computer. The girl warned, without a hint of politeness, if you don't behave and cooperate with your treatment, I'll tie you up. Ryaji approached Zenitsu's bed, a slight smile playing on his lips. Zenitsu, it seems you have other plans. Are you preparing to marry another girl? The sudden question jolted Zenitsu out of his spasms. He stopped abruptly, waving his already atrophied hands, and stammered an embarrassed explanation to Ryaji. Senior Ryaji, that's impossible. I was just trying to scare them. Didn't I say, in the end, that my soul and body belong only to Nezuko? Ryaji, of course, didn't believe a word Zenitsu said. The guy's pronouncements were mostly nonsense. Stop the nonsense and get treated. If you become disabled, you won't be able to protect Nezuko, and someone who can't protect Nezuko is unacceptable to Tanjiro. Nezuko needs protection. Ryaji said, lightly slapping Zenitsu's bottom for emphasis. He surveyed the room. Inashuk lay on the bed next to Zenitsu. The other beds were empty. Zenitsu and Inashuk had been placed in a separate room because they couldn't share a space with others. Turning to the two hidden members still carrying the stretcher, Ryaji instructed, put Tanjiro on a bed. Your work is done. They efficiently placed Tanjiro on a bed and then bowed to Ryaji before departing. Ryaji-sama, we shall take our leave. The girl who had slapped Zenitsu then approached Ryaji, stating, take off your clothes. Ryaji looked at her in astonishment, finding it unbelievable that a girl, seemingly around 12 years old, would ask him to undress. He could understand such a request from Shinobu, but from a preteen girl, it was highly unusual. Little sister, why should I take off my clothes? Ryaji asked, confused. To check your wounds, of course. And my name is Aoi Kenzaki, not, little sister, Kenzaki. Aoi explained, adding her name for good measure. Ryaji couldn't help but smile at Kenzaki Aoi's forthright personality. 278, Chapter 278. Though captivated by Ryaji's smile, Aoi Kenzaki, seeing him hesitate to undress, urged, hurry up. You've lost a lot of blood. The wounds must be deep. We can't delay. Ryaji glanced at his blood-soaked outer garment, stained with the blood of Lower Moon 5, and laughed. Aoi had clearly mistaken the demon's blood for his own injuries. What are you laughing at? Quickly take off your clothes so I can treat your wounds. Aoi said, a touch impatiently. Before Ryaji could respond, Aoi started to undress him herself. Ryaji was startled by her directness. This girl was incredibly quick and decisive. Zenitsu, witnessing Aoi undressing Ryaji, became excited and started teasing, I saw that. You two are doing this in broad daylight. Senior Ryaji, I'm going to tell Amina that you're getting cozy with another girl. Ryaji caught Aoi's hands, stopping her. Ignoring Zenitsu's threat, the guy always acted this way when a girl showed him attention, immediately using Amina Yabayashiki to try and intimidate him. Ryaji explained, I'm a medical attendant at the Butterfly Mansion, and I need your cooperation. Aoi, surprised by Ryaji's lack of cooperation, responded firmly, I am a medical attendant at the Butterfly Mansion specializing in treating injuries. Please cooperate. I'm not injured. The blood on my clothes isn't mine, it's demon blood. You should examine Tanjiro first, Ryaji explained. Aoi paused, then changed her approach, even so, I still need to examine you. Zenitsu, watching Ryaji being forced by a young girl, was secretly thrilled and envious, fantasizing about a girl being this assertive with him. Unable to dissuade Aoi, Ryaji allowed the examination, but insisted on undressing himself. Fine, fine. I'll do it myself. Ryaji removed his shirt, revealing a well-defined, though not overly muscular, upper body. His physique was balanced and athletic. Seeing Ryaji's physique, Aoi was once again captivated by his proportions. Without hesitation, she reached out and touched him. Ryaji wisely remained silent. Any questions would only confirm his misinterpretations. Aoi's initial touch was purely to examine his body, but after a few seconds, she realized she was conducting a medical examination, not flirting. Her touch became incredibly professional. She meticulously examined every joint and bone on Ryaji's upper body, demonstrating an expert knowledge of the human anatomy. Even Ryaji could feel the precision of her touch, the accuracy of her assessment of his joints and bones being something not easily achieved. Aoi, despite her young age, clearly possessed exceptional skill. 279, Chapter 279. After examining Ryaji, Aoi Kanzaki confirmed he had no external or internal injuries. "Alright, put your clothes back on," she said. Ryaji complied, putting his shirt back on. Aoi then moved to Tanjiro's bedside, preparing to examine the genuinely injured Tanjiro and formulate a treatment plan. Seeing Aoi approach, Tanjiro, remembering Ryaji's experience, proactively began undressing to facilitate the examination. Aoi was startled by Tanjiro's actions. "Hey, what are you doing? Who told you to take your clothes off? You don't need to." Embarrassed, Tanjiro stopped, looking at Aoi with a confused expression. "Didn't Senior Ryaji take his off?" Ryaji also looked at Aoi expectantly. Zenitsu, ever the opportunist, chimed in, "Tanjiro, with your looks, you won't get the same treatment as Senior Ryaji. Aoi-chan only likes watching handsome guys undress. Give it up." Tanjiro, understanding, nodded. "I see. So you like watching handsome guys undress." He didn't take offense. He acknowledged he wasn't as attractive to girls as Ryaji. Aoi, flustered by Zenitsu's remark, quickly denied it. "No, taking off clothes is just to check for serious external injuries. After all, his clothes are covered in blood." Tanjiro, finding this explanation reasonable, said, "Aoi-chan, I also have many wounds. Are you sure you don't need to examine me?" Aoi, having no choice, agreed. "Then undress. Go ahead." While waiting for Tanjiro, Aoi glared at Zenitsu, plotting a small revenge for his interference. "Kotoha, quickly apply the medicine to that restless fellow. Don't delay the patient's recovery." Aoi instructed the girl named Kotoha, referring to Zenitsu. "Yes." Kotoha readily agreed, removing her shoes and sitting on Zenitsu's back to restrain him while applying the medicine. Zenitsu immediately began to wail and scream. The medicine was unpleasant, feeling like countless tiny fangs were tearing at his flesh. However, it was necessary to stimulate the regrowth of his atrophied limbs. His limbs showed significant atrophy, and without treatment, he risked permanent disability. Murder! Zenitsu cried out. Aoi, secretly pleased by Zenitsu's distress, began a thorough examination of Tanjiro's injuries. 280, Chapter 280. Even though Ryaji knew Aoi Kanzaki had ulterior motives for asking him to undress, he didn't bother to dwell on it. What was done was done. She'd seen what she'd seen, touched what she'd touched. He wasn't going to blind her or cut off her hands. Ryaji placed the cedarwood box containing Nezuko beside Tanjiro's bed. "Tanjiro, I'm leaving Nezuko in your care for now. I'll bathe her and change her clothes tonight." Tanjiro had no objections. He trusted Ryaji implicitly. Even if Ryaji personally bathed Nezuko, it wouldn't faze him. Zenitsu, however, became agitated, nearly dislodging Kotoha from his back. Kotoha managed to grab his ears, regaining her balance. Zenitsu, being only poisoned and not physically injured aside from his atrophied limbs, was otherwise fine. "Senior Ryaji, let me do it. I'll bathe Nezuko until she's squeaky clean and smells wonderful." Zenitsu practically vibrated with eagerness, envisioning himself undressing Nezuko and taking her to the bath. If Kotoha hadn't held onto his ears, Zenitsu would have likely rushed to Ryaji, begging him to let him do it. Tanjiro, witnessing Zenitsu's lecherous behavior, was exasperated. He certainly didn't want Zenitsu anywhere near Nezuko. The guy was too inappropriate, only interested in seeing Nezuko's body. Ryaji poured cold water on Zenitsu's enthusiasm. "What are you thinking? A boy bathing a girl?" Zenitsu grumbled. "I think you're afraid I'll steal your job, Senior Ryaji." "I know what you're thinking." Ryaji found Zenitsu's claim amusing. The guy assumed every boy was as obsessed with women as he was. Ryaji responded calmly, "Afraid? You're overthinking. It's not my job, and it's certainly not yours." Even if Ryaji wanted to bathe Nezuko himself, Zenitsu would just have to watch. Zenitsu's face fell in disappointment. Meanwhile, Aoi Kanzaki, who was examining Tanjiro, overheard their conversation. She gave Zenitsu a disgusted look and muttered, "Shameless." She then reported on Tanjiro's injuries. Most of your injuries are external. The worst is near your jaw. There are signs of a heavy impact. You also have fractured ribs in your chest cavity. Furthermore, your joints are swollen, likely due to impacted meridians. It seems that during the impact, you didn't control your breathing properly, leading to a surge of energy in your meridians. Tanjiro was astonished by the accuracy of her diagnosis. He couldn't believe such a young girl possessed such skill, diagnosing his injuries so precisely with a simple visual and tactile examination. 281, Chapter 281. I'll get some external wound medicine to treat your external injuries first. As for your internal injuries, you'll need to take some herbal medicine to aid recovery, Aoi said before leaving the ward to prepare the necessary medicine for Tanjiro. After Aoi left, Tanjiro looked at Inashuk, who was unusually quiet. Was he still unconscious? Inashuk. Inashuk. Tanjiro called out. Ugh, what? Inashuk's voice was low and hoarse. Tanjiro, relieved to hear Inashuk's voice, asked, Inashuk, what's wrong? Why are you speaking like that? Zenitsu explained, his throat's messed up, I think. He wouldn't stop yelling after he woke up, and he ended up screaming himself hoarse. Screaming himself hoarse. Inashuk is such a klutz. I'm dying laughing at how subdued he is now. He totally deserves it. Zenitsu couldn't stop laughing at Inashuk's self-inflicted injury. Just as Zenitsu's laughter reached its peak, Kaneo, still sitting on his back, resumed applying the medicine. Zenitsu's laughter instantly turned to pained groans. Ow, 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 Kaneo-chan, couldn't you have warned me? Zenitsu complained. Tanjiro finally understood why Inashuk was so unusually quiet. I'm sorry, I'm so weak, Inashuk mumbled dejectedly. Perhaps his apology stemmed from experiencing defeat for the first time, or perhaps from Zenitsu's mocking yet relatable comments. Maybe he could only express his frustration through self-harm, screaming himself hoarse. Tanjiro encouraged him, cheer up, Inashuk, that's not like you. It's my fault for not being there to fight alongside you. If I had been, we definitely would have defeated that spider demon. Zenitsu also tried to boost Inashuk's spirits. You did great. You're amazing. You survived. As long as you're alive, you have a chance to become even stronger. Ryaji, exhausted from the journey, quietly fell asleep on an empty bed in the room, without saying anything to Inashuk. Inashuk remained silent. Aoi Kanzaki returned with a medical cart, carrying a bowl of steaming, foul-smelling medicinal concoction. Kaneo, give this medicine to the blonde boy, Aoi instructed. Kaneo hopped off Zenitsu's back, put on her shoes, and picked up the bowl of medicine. Aoi then pushed the cart to Tanjiro's bedside and began treating his wounds. What's this? It smells terrible. I know it's going to taste awful. I'm not drinking it. Zenitsu wrinkled his nose in disgust. Kaneo sighed. Zenitsu never cooperated with his treatment. 282, Chapter 282. Night fell. Kaguya Yubayashiki and the 9 Hashira of the Demon Slayer Corps sat on the floor of a room, holding their Hashira meeting. Oil lamps provided the only illumination. Being in the mountains, electricity was unavailable. Kaguya began, as many of you have mentioned, the Demon Slayer Corps has suffered severe casualties. The lives of ordinary citizens are also under immense threat due to the drastic reduction in our numbers. Therefore, I believe the Corps must recruit more members. What are your thoughts? Sanemi Shinazugawa, simmering with anger, was the first to speak. The Spider Mountain raid showed me just how weak our demon slayers are. Their quality has deteriorated to an unacceptable level. They are practically useless. I believe the Demon Slayer Training Corps bears the greatest responsibility for this. They've produced such incompetent demon hunters. Uzui Tengen, the sound Hashira, stroked his chin, praising Ryaji. That white-haired kid from earlier proved his worth. He not only killed 4 lower moons but also dealt a stunning blow to Sanemi. He has immense potential. He might even be the key to eliminating Muzan Kibutsuji. Sanemi, irritated by Uzui's pointed remark, coldly snorted but refrained from arguing. He wouldn't fabricate excuses for what had already happened. Shinobu Koko offered a more balanced perspective. The more people we have, the harder it will be to manage. Furthermore, increasing our numbers presents a significant financial burden. These times are different from the past. Demon hunting was a high-risk profession. Not every member would willingly hunt demons for free. Even without payment or bonuses, people needed money to live. Without basic necessities, demon hunting would be impossible. Therefore, substantial funding was essential. Beyond the frontline demon hunters, the Hidden Division also required significant funding. Since the Hidden Division didn't hunt demons, their work was relatively safe, and they received only a fixed monthly salary, not bonuses. Demon hunters, on the other hand, received a fixed monthly salary and additional bonuses for each demon slain. If a demon hunter refused 3 missions in a month, they automatically forfeited their status. This prevented people from simply collecting a salary without working. The monthly salary wasn't insignificant, it was comparable to a comfortable middle-class family's monthly expenses. Even without missions, demon hunters could live comfortably on their salaries alone. To prevent people from taking the money without working, the Corps implemented this rule. 283, Chapter 283. Of course, this rule didn't apply to the Hashira. Their missions were directly assigned by the Master, eliminating the possibility of refusal. Hajime Gyomei continued Shinobu's point: those who joined because a loved one was killed, and those whose families have been demon hunters for generations, are the core of the Demon Slayer Corps. Those who aren't either of those, expecting them to sacrifice their lives for the Corps, isn't feasible. Rengoku Kyojuro, the Flame Hashira, instead of commenting on Kaguya's proposal, praised Ryaji. Speaking of which, that boy named Ryaji, so soon after joining, encountered and killed lower moons. Perhaps he possesses some sort of power that attracts lower moons. Even we rarely encounter them. I'm envious. Tomioka Jiyu, Kanroji Mitsurai, Tokaito Muchiro, and Iguro Obanai remained silent. After a moment of silence, Kaguya spoke. You're right. The lower moon's activity in Spider Mountain suggests Muzan Kibutsuji might not be there. The same goes for Asakusa. Whenever he wants to conceal something, Muzan will have his demons create a disturbance to cleverly divert our attention. Perhaps we can use Ryaji and Tanjiro's presence to lure Muzan Kibutsuji out. However, demons are also rapidly consuming humans to grow stronger. All we can do is gather the strength of everyone here to completely crush them. I believe the Hashira gathered here are the most elite group since the initial breath of the first-style swordsmen of the Sengoku period. Gyomei Hajime. Tengen Uzui. Kyojuro Rengoku. Mitsurai Kenroji. Sanemi Shinazugawa. Muchiro Tokaito. Obanai Iguro. Shinobu Koko. Jiyu Tomioka. My children, I look forward to your outstanding performance. After the Hashira meeting, Shinobu Koko immediately sought out Ryaji. He was already well rested, clean, and changed, lying on his bed in the private ward, staring at the ceiling. Shinobu had also asked Aoi Kanzaki to clean Nezuko. Aoi, upon seeing Nezuko, immediately noticed she was a demon. After Ryaji's explanation, she was reassured. Even without mentioning it, someone else would inevitably discover Nezuko. Clearly, Ryaji and Nezuko were granted special privileges. Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inashuk were all asleep. The ward was quiet except for Zenitsu's snoring. Ryaji noticed Shinobu's arrival and turned his gaze towards her. Shinobu quickly reached Ryaji's bedside. You're not a patient, why are you in the ward? Come with me, I've prepared accommodations for you. She took Ryaji's hand and helped him sit up. 284, Chapter 284. Ryaji wasn't particularly demanding about his living arrangements, so he showed no inclination to leave with Shinobu. He calmly replied, this place is fine. It's quiet. Shinobu, instead of being offended by his refusal, smiled brightly. You like quiet, huh? The place I've prepared is very quiet. With your abilities, you deserve the same treatment as the Hashira. Seeing Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inashuk asleep, Ryaji chose to remain silent rather than argue with Shinobu and wake them. Seizing the opportunity, Shinobu forcefully pulled Ryaji from the bed, saying cheerfully, come on, come on. Thus, Ryaji was forcibly led by Shinobu to a secluded courtyard with a small, independent wooden house. You'll live here. Come and I'll show you your room. Shinobu eagerly pulled Ryaji into the house and led him to a small but clean and tidy room, filled with a faint, pleasant scent, clearly not a neglected or infrequently used space. By the light of the oil lamp, Ryaji briefly examined the room. This isn't your room, is it? Another girl must have lived here, right? Shinobu, surprised by his question, replied, my sister used to live here, but she's gone now, so it's been empty. Ryaji understood the implication of gone, but he didn't press it. Your sister must have been important to you. You've taken such good care of her room. But is it really all right for me to stay here? It's fine. My sister would want you to stay in her room. She always hoped demons and humans could coexist peacefully. That's already been achieved with you and Nezuko. She'd be happy to know, Shinobu said, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek despite her smile. Ryaji hadn't expected Shinobu's sister to have such an idealistic outlook. She must have been incredibly kind and compassionate to hold such a belief. He was taken aback by Shinobu's quiet tears. He instinctively reached out to wipe away the tear, offering a gentle smile. I didn't expect a Hashira to be such a crybaby. Shinobu was stunned by Ryaji's spontaneous act of kindness. No man had ever shown her such a tender gesture. Looking at Ryaji's smile, Shinobu's sister's face overlapped with Ryaji's in her mind. A strange feeling washed over her. She felt that Ryaji might be the man sent from heaven by her sister to protect her. 285, Chapter 285. Seeing Shinobu staring intently at him, Ryaji quickly said, "Don't worry, I won't tell anyone you cried." However, before he could finish, Shinobu suddenly pressed herself against him, rising onto her toes to kiss him. Ryaji, completely surprised by the sudden kiss, instinctively grabbed Shinobu. It was a purely reflexive action. Shinobu, interpreting his grip as reciprocation, surrendered to her emotions, using Ryaji as an outlet for her feelings. Ryaji was completely overwhelmed by Shinobu's passionate kiss. The next day, Tanjiro and Zenitsu awoke to find Ryaji missing from the room. Inashuk was still lying motionless in bed. It was unclear if he was awake. Both Tanjiro and Zenitsu wondered where Ryaji had gone. Tanjiro checked the cedarwood box beside the bed. It was still there, reassuring him somewhat. Zenitsu offered his theory. I have a feeling Senior Ryaji snuck out last night while we were asleep to meet Amina secretly. Tanjiro didn't pay much attention to Zenitsu's speculation. Even if true, it was Ryaji's private matter, and Tanjiro didn't want to gossip. Shinichi Murata arrived at the ward early that morning. Tanjiro, Zenitsu, you both seem to be in good spirits. He entered, looking at Inashuk, who lay still like a corpse. How's Inashuk? Still asleep? Tanjiro replied, probably. Inashuk's been through a lot. He's probably contemplating life. Shinichi sighed. It's unusual to see him so down, though he understood having narrowly escaped death, Inashuk would naturally experience significant emotional trauma. Noticing Ryaji's absence, Shinichi asked, "Where's Senior Ryaji? What's he doing?" Tanjiro shook his head. "I don't know." Zenitsu chimed in, "Shinichi, let me tell you. Senior Ryaji snuck out last night to meet a girl." Intrigued, Shinichi, being a man, was naturally interested in such gossip. He leaned in, whispering, "Zenitsu, how do you know? Did you see Ryaji go out with a girl last night?" Zenitsu had slept soundly. He couldn't have possibly seen Ryaji being taken away by Shinobu. Zenitsu shook his head. "No, I didn't see him, but knowing Senior Ryaji, he must have gone to meet a girl." Shinichi chuckled at Zenitsu's unfounded speculation and didn't pursue the matter further. 286, Chapter 286. After visiting Tanjiro, Shinichi didn't linger, leaving as Aoi Kenzaki, Kotoha, and another girl named Connie arrived to tend to Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inashuk. Zenitsu, as the previous day, reluctantly underwent his treatment. Tanjiro and Inashuk cooperated quietly. Meanwhile, in Shinobu Koko's sister's room, Ryaji and Shinobu were sleeping together. Shinobu nestled in Ryaji's arms, his arms still around her. Sunlight streamed through the window, causing them both to frown slightly before simultaneously opening their eyes and meeting each other's gaze. Their warm breaths mingled in the close proximity. They remained silent for a long time. Ryaji wasn't sure what to say considering their passionate encounter the previous night. He felt a mixture of joy and uncertainty. Shinobu broke the silence, smiling gently. "Good morning." "Good morning," Ryaji replied instinctively. Ryaji wasn't sure how to approach the situation. He felt their actions the previous night were purely impulsive, not a natural progression of their relationship. Shinobu nudged him. "How long are you going to hold me? The sun's already up." Ryaji removed his arm, sitting up slowly. "Last night, was it serious for you?" he asked, unsure of Shinobu's true feelings. Shinobu was surprised by his lack of confidence but understood his question. After all, no one would have expected what happened. However, She knew that her actions meant she had fully accepted Ryaji, body and soul. It was my first time. What about you? Was it serious for you? Shinobu countered. Ryaji knew it was her first time, that's why he'd asked. He nodded. Then, are you planning to make our relationship public? Shinobu shook her head. There's no need to go public. The Demon Slayer Corps isn't a place to flaunt romance. She didn't care about publicly acknowledging their relationship as long as Ryaji felt the same way, it was enough. Let's leave it at that for now. Let's get up and have breakfast, Shinobu said, changing the subject. As they left the room, they encountered Kaneo Tsuyuri, who was smiling at them as they emerged. Shinobu showed no embarrassment, nor did Ryaji. They both remained calm. Shinobu greeted Kaneo cheerfully. Good morning, Kaneo. 287, Chapter 287. Good morning. Ryaji greeted Kaneo. Good morning. Kaneo showed no unusual reaction to Ryaji's presence. It seemed perfectly normal to her. However, her nonchalant demeanor made it impossible for Ryaji to tell if she genuinely hadn't noticed anything between him and Shinobu, or if she was simply pretending. He wouldn't risk mentioning it if Kaneo truly didn't know, bringing it up might make her suspicious. Kaneo continued, Sister Shinobu, I went to your room, but you weren't there. I figured you were thinking about Sister Connie, so I came to her room to find you. Breakfast is ready. I know, Shinobu said. Kaneo, Ryaji will be staying in Sister Connie's room from now on, so be sure to get along with him. Kaneo simply nodded, showing complete indifference to Ryaji's arrival. The following days were uneventful. Ryaji, besides occasionally treating Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inashuk with his breath of the forest, was tasked by Kaguya Yubayashiki to train the Spider Mountain survivors, becoming their special training officer. This excluded injured members like Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inashuk, focusing instead on those whose injuries didn't hinder training. Those who survived the Natagyumo Mountain raid with minor injuries were naturally stronger than those who perished. Luck is a part of strength. Shinichi and Jiro Murata were among Ryaji's trainees. The Natagyumo Mountain mission had made Kaguya Yubayashiki realize the Corps' weakness. After the Hashira meeting, most Hashira felt expanding the Corps wouldn't be effective. Kaguya decided to train the Spider Mountain survivors with minor injuries to create an independent unit separate from the Hashira and regular members. Thus, few Spider Mountain survivors escaped unscathed. Including Ryaji, Shinichi, and Jiro, there were 12. Ryaji was appointed as their training officer and captain. Kaguya had no doubt about Ryaji's abilities. He was already at the Hashira level. However, Jiyu Tomioka was already the water Hashira, so replacing him wasn't an option. Kaguya believed creating an independent unit under Ryaji's command would be a better choice. In the training grounds Kaguya prepared, Ryaji stood before his trainees, his gaze cold and assessing as he looked at the young trainees, roughly his age. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Ryaji. I am your training officer and the captain of your 12 Slaying Moon unit. 288, Chapter 288. 12 Slaying Moons, as the name suggests, means to slay the 12 Kazuki. Of course, you're not capable of that yet, which is why you're undergoing this special training. Don't assume you're guaranteed a spot in the 12 Slaying Moons. Those who fail the training will be eliminated. Only the strong will remain. The training focuses on 3 core areas: breathing techniques, physical conditioning, and combat techniques. There's also a supplementary training element: teamwork. Unlike the Hashira, who operate individually, the 12 Slaying Moons unit works as a team. Individual strength is crucial, but teamwork is equally important. Only through effective coordination can you achieve synergy. 1 + 1 = more than 2, 3 + 3 = more than 6, and 6 + 6 = more than 12. After introducing himself, Ryaji explained the 12 Slaying Moons unit's philosophy and training direction. A surly-looking teenager scoffed, "So, the 12 Slaying Moons is just a bunch of bullies ganging up on opponents? I'm out of here. I thought it would be something more impressive." Shinichi retorted immediately, "Oh yeah, how impressive are you? Acting like you're so great. Where was this amazing strength of yours during the Spider Mountain raid? Without the Hashira reinforcements, you'd probably have been hiding in a corner until dawn." The teenager, provoked by Shinichi's mockery, lunged forward, ready for a fight. But Ryaji swiftly intervened, grabbing the teenager by the collar and tossing him out like trash. After dusting his hands, Ryaji addressed the remaining trainees, his tone hardening. The 12 Slaying Moons unit doesn't need individuals who prefer solo combat and refuse team support. Those who find teamwork dishonorable can leave now. The 12 Slaying Moons isn't for you. Several trainees, unimpressed and dismissive of Ryaji's authority, grumbled and left the training grounds. Ryaji remained unfazed. He wasn't going to waste his energy on them. If they didn't want to be part of the 12 Slaying Moons, that was their choice. One departure led to another, and another, until a total of 4 trainees, including the one Ryaji had thrown out, left the training. With only 8 trainees left, Ryaji announced, "In that case, let's change the unit's name from a 12 Slaying Moons to Moonslayer." The trainees were stunned. The name 12 Slaying Moons was just something Ryaji had come up with. They all assumed it was a name bestowed by the master. This revelation, coupled with Ryaji's earlier actions, made most of the trainees, except for Shinichi and Jiro, question his competence. 289, Chapter 289. Enough talk. Training starts now. Ryaji cut off further discussion and began the training. He started with breathing techniques, having each trainee demonstrate their breathing style. He found their breathing techniques stiff and lacking the fluidity and spirit they should possess. Such techniques couldn't unleash their full potential. Ryaji, using his deep understanding of breathing styles, corrected their understanding and, through his keen perception, identified the most suitable breathing rhythm for each trainee. While the basic rhythm of a breathing style is similar across users, individual variations exist due to the user's unique physical attributes. This is the concept of breathing compatibility. Generally, a 70% compatibility between breathing rhythm and body is considered mastery. These trainees had simply copied their breathing styles from their instructors, mastering the techniques without necessarily adapting them to their own bodies. This limited their potential and easily led to plateaus in their strength. Finding their unique breathing rhythm wasn't easy. Within a day, only 3 trainees, all around 15 or 16 years old, including Jiro, managed to find a rhythm perfectly suited to their bodies. Jiro's older brother, Shinichi, struggled due to his age and the ingrained habit of his original breathing style. He needed more time and practice to adjust. The 3 trainees who improved their breathing compatibility further refined their new rhythms. Seeing their progress, the others focused more intently on finding their own optimal rhythms under Ryaji's guidance. The breathing technique training lasted 5 days. All members of the Moonslayer unit found breathing rhythms better suited to their bodies. Once their breathing was refined, physical conditioning and combat technique training began. Ryaji's authority within the Moonslayer unit grew as his trainees saw the results of their training. Shinichi and Jiro spread word of Ryaji's abilities, making the others aware of his strength. During the training, Shinobu occasionally visited under the guise of inspection. The Moonslayer trainees noticed the unusual dynamic between Ryaji and Shinobu. Unlike their interactions at Spider Mountain, Ryaji now greeted Shinobu with a smile. They remembered their earlier animosity at the camp. The trainees were confused by their changed relationship. Shinichi recalled Ryaji's insistence on maintaining distance from Shinobu. This was a complete reversal. The only female member of the Moonslayer unit whispered to the others, "I think Senior Ryaji and Lady Shinobu are in love. I smell romance." Another trainee excitedly chimed in, "Senior Ryaji is amazing. She's a Hashira. Her strength is undeniable. I wonder who pursued whom." Shinichi interjected, "It's obvious. Whoever made the first move did the pursuing." 290, Chapter 290. 2 weeks later, Tanjiro and Inosuke, their injuries mostly healed, were called by Shinobu for rehabilitation training. Zenitsu, whose atrophied limbs hadn't fully recovered, had to wait. Each time Tanjiro and Inosuke returned from training, they looked utterly exhausted, filling Zenitsu with dread about the grueling regimen. Seeing their weary state, Zenitsu asked, "Tanjiro, Inosuke, what kind of training leaves you both so exhausted?" Tanjiro and Inosuke, too drained to respond, collapsed onto their beds and fell asleep. Zenitsu complained loudly, "Hey, I'm starting rehabilitation training tomorrow. Can't you tell me what kind of training it is? At least give me some warning." The next morning, Zenitsu joined Tanjiro and Inosuke for their training. Their zombie-like appearance further fueled his apprehension. They arrived at the rehabilitation training room. Kaneo, Aoi Kanzaki, Neo, Kiyo, and Sumi were already there. Kaneo sat at a table with numerous cups, while Neo, Kiyo, and Sumi waited by 3 padded mats. Aoi Kanzaki addressed them. Zenitsu, this is your first day, so I'll explain everything later. For now, watch Tanjiro and Inashuk. First, Nao, Kyo, and Sumi will loosen your stiff bodies, Aoi explained. Inashuk was pulled onto a mat and his bones and muscles were stretched by the three girls. Even Inashuk, known for his flexibility, cried out in pain. Afterward, he lay completely limp on the mat. Next is the reaction training. The cups on the table contain medicinal liquid. You'll sit opposite Kaneo and throw the liquid at each other. If you're stopped before picking up a cup, you don't have to continue with that cup. Aoi explained the reaction training. As soon as she finished, Zenitsu saw Tanjiro get splashed. After watching Tanjiro and Inashuk complete both exercises, Aoi said, finally, full body training. It's basically tag Kaneo and I will be your opponents. Having witnessed the entire process, Zenitsu said, excuse me, I need to talk to Tanjiro and Inashuk for a moment. With a grim expression, Zenitsu grabbed Tanjiro and Inashuk by their collars and dragged them out of the training room. Come with me. I'm not going. Inashuk immediately refused. Don't be stupid, get over here. Zenitsu yelled, dragging them away. 291, Chapter 291. Zenitsu dragged Tanjiro and Inashuk outside. Sit up straight, you two idiots. Zenitsu, unable to contain his anger, unleashed his frustration at being deceived. What are you saying? Inashuk, angered by Zenitsu's outburst, retorted. Zenitsu punched Inashuk in the face, sending him spinning before he collided with a wooden wall. Inashuk, are you all right? Tanjiro, startled by Zenitsu's actions, scolded him. Zenitsu, what are you doing? Apologize to Inashuk. You should be apologizing. You two should be apologizing. You were in paradise, yet you acted like you were in hell. You wouldn't tell us anything. You were all lovey-dovey with girls. Get down on your knees and apologize. Do harakiri. Zenitsu angrily berated them. Zenitsu became increasingly agitated, jumping around in a fit of rage. What are you talking about? Tanjiro was confused by Zenitsu's outburst, unsure why he was so angry. Zenitsu yelled at Tanjiro, shut up, you goody two-shoes. Shut up and listen. He grabbed Tanjiro's hair and shook him, continuing his rant. You actually got to touch girls. They gave you massages. You got to touch their hands during the cup-throwing game. You got to touch their bodies during tag. Girls have breasts, buttocks, and thighs. They smell good when you pass by. They're easy on the eyes. So lucky. So lucky. Zenitsu became increasingly excited, practically floating with euphoria. What are you babbling about? We felt defeated because we lost to girls smaller than us. Inashuk explained their grim demeanor upon returning from training. Zenitsu mocked Inashuk. Oh, you poor thing. You've probably never properly interacted with a girl. You grew up in the mountains. No wonder you're so immature. Ah, so tragic. Zenitsu's extreme fascination with girls was evident. Thankfully, he wasn't an emperor otherwise, he'd likely have died from overindulgence. Thinking Zenitsu was referring to his defeat by girls, Inashuk retorted angrily, what are you saying? I've even touched young female animals. You're a creep. No woman will ever like you. Zenitsu shouted. Inashuk boasted, women. I'll have as many as I want. Inside the training room, Kaneo, Aoi Kanzaki, Kyo, Nao, and Sumi clearly overheard Zenitsu's complaints and Inashuk's retorts. 292, Chapter 292. Zenitsu's loud voice easily carried through the thin wall separating the inside and outside, making it impossible for Aoi to ignore him. Aoi clenched her fists, furious at Zenitsu's overtly enthusiastic comments about interacting with women. She desperately wanted to rush out and beat him up. Kaneo showed no emotional reaction, seemingly unconcerned. After his outburst, Zenitsu eagerly returned to the training room, cheerfully addressing Aoi, Kyo, Nao, and Sumi. Please instruct me. Let's begin my rehabilitation training. The four girls were speechless, having clearly heard Zenitsu's earlier complaints. Aoi spoke to Kyo, Nao, and Sumi in a pointed tone. Kyo, Nao, and Sumi, loosen his muscles first. Let him relax properly. Yes. The three girls replied in unison. Zenitsu willingly lay on the mat, anticipating the girls' close attention. Although Kyo, Nao, and Sumi followed Aoi's subtle instructions and applied extra pressure, Zenitsu remained blissfully unaware of any pain, lost in his own joy. Ina shook, witnessing Zenitsu's cheerful demeanor despite the pain, exclaimed, "That guy's got guts. I was crying from the pain, and he's still smiling." Next was Zenitsu's reaction training, with Aoi as his opponent. They sat opposite each other, Zenitsu eagerly anticipating the chance to touch Aoi's hand. "Begin," Kyo announced. Both Zenitsu and Aoi moved simultaneously. Zenitsu, driven by the desire to touch Aoi's hand, was quicker, restraining Aoi's hand before she could grab a cup while simultaneously picking up his own cup. Instead of throwing the liquid, Zenitsu said with a flourish, "I wouldn't throw liquid at a lady." Aoi rolled her eyes at Zenitsu's display of chivalry and quickly grabbed a cup, splashing him with the liquid. Zenitsu, surprised by his own chivalry and subsequent soaking, didn't get angry. During the following rounds, he continuously touched Aoi's hand, preventing her from throwing any more liquid at him. Frustrated, Aoi moved on to the final full-body training, only to be repeatedly hugged and embraced by Zenitsu. In retaliation, she beat him up. Inspired by Zenitsu's victory, Ina shook enthusiastically engaged in the reaction and full-body training with Aoi, also winning decisively. Since Aoi couldn't handle Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Ina shook, Kaneo became the opponent for the remaining training, and all three were defeated by her. 293 Chapter 293 Zenitsu's intense enthusiasm lasted only 3 days. After that, Kaneo's training completely demoralized him. What broke Zenitsu's spirit wasn't the medicinal liquid, it was his complete inability to touch Kaneo, no matter how hard he tried. This was his ultimate downfall. A week later, Zenitsu and Ina shook gave up on training. Only Tanjiro persevered, but he too hit a wall. Remembering Ryaji, Tanjiro sought his guidance after training one day, going to Ryaji's training grounds. Tanjiro knew Ryaji would see his shortcomings. Ryaji was correcting his trainees' techniques. Although each trainee used different breathing styles, Ryaji, through his understanding of swordsmanship and kendo, refined their movements. Watching Ryaji confidently teach others, Tanjiro felt envious. When would he reach that level? Seeing Tanjiro, Ryaji addressed the Moonslayer trainees. "The key thing you need to understand is why techniques are performed a certain way, and the benefits of that execution. Different techniques have different focuses. Concentrating your breathing style on that focal point maximizes the technique's power. Think about this on your own. Training is over for today. You're dismissed." The Moonslayer trainees happily left. Only Shinichi and Jiro remained, approaching Tanjiro. Jiro asked, "Tanjiro, how are your injuries healing?" "Completely healed. I'm undergoing rehabilitation training," Tanjiro replied. "How's the training with Senior Ryaji going?" Tanjiro asked. Shinichi excitedly said, "Amazing. My breathing compatibility is perfectly synchronized with my body. Besides daily breathing and physical training, Senior Ryaji has started training us in our breathing style techniques. I think if I keep training this way, I have a chance of becoming a Hashira." Before Shinichi could finish, Ryaji appeared and bonked him on the head. "Aren't you leaving? Planning on extra practice?" Shinichi, realizing they had private business, chuckled awkwardly. "Senior Ryaji, you two chat. My brother and I will go." He quickly pulled Jiro away. Ryaji went straight to the point. "What do you need?" Tanjiro hesitated. "Senior Ryaji, I've hit a wall." "A wall?" Ryaji didn't understand what Tanjiro meant. 294 Chapter 294 It's Kaneo. I've been doing rehabilitation training with her for the past few days, and I've lost every time. Zenitsu and Ina shook gave up, but I don't want to quit. Tanjiro explained. Ryaji chuckled, patting Tanjiro's shoulder. "She's the Hashira's adopted daughter. Losing to her isn't unacceptable. Senior Ryaji, I want to know what makes us different. If I can't overcome this hurdle, I can't get stronger." Tanjiro insisted. "Let's talk inside," Ryaji said, leading Tanjiro into the house. 2 hidden members were waiting inside. They greeted them, "Senior Ryaji, Kamado-sama. Make us some hot tea," Ryaji instructed. "Yes." The hidden members left. Ryaji and Tanjiro sat opposite each other. Ryaji said, "Tanjiro, tell me about your rehabilitation training. How did you lose to her?" Tanjiro described the training. Ryaji was surprised by its simplicity. No wonder Tanjiro kept losing. This training didn't improve strength, it merely restored physical functions and reflexes to their pre-injury state. Tanjiro's losses stemmed from a fundamental difference in strength, something rehabilitation training couldn't bridge. Seeing Ryaji smile, Tanjiro asked, "Senior Ryaji, is something wrong?" "Of course," Ryaji replied confidently. "Zenitsu and Inashuk made a smart decision quitting. Even if you did this rehabilitation training for a lifetime, you wouldn't beat Kaneo." Tanjiro pressed, "Then how can I win?" "Tanjiro, what made you so strong?" Ryaji countered. "My breathing style," Tanjiro answered without hesitation, then dejectedly added, "But Senior Ryaji, even with my breathing style, I can't beat Kaneo." "That's because your breathing style isn't strong enough," Ryaji stated calmly. Two hidden members returned with tea and quietly served them. Ryaji took a sip of tea. "Tanjiro, you'll only have a chance against Kaneo when water breathing becomes a part of you." Tanjiro still didn't understand. What did it mean for water breathing to become a part of him? "Senior Ryaji, can you explain that more clearly?" Tanjiro asked. "All right. Start by maintaining water breathing continuously for 1 hour. If you stop, you have to start over." 295, Chapter 295. When you can maintain total concentration breathing, water breathing, for 24 hours, congratulations, you've reached a new level. Beating Kaneo will be a piece of cake. Tanjiro was shocked. He questioned doubtfully, "Senior Ryaji, is that even possible?" "It's a fundamental requirement for becoming a Hashira. Don't expect to achieve it overnight. Start with small goals. Once you can maintain it for an hour, gradually increase the duration until breathing becomes an inseparable part of you," Ryaji continued. "Senior Ryaji, can you do that?" Tanjiro curiously asked. Ryaji nodded without elaboration. Maintaining total concentration breathing for 24 hours was no longer a challenge for Ryaji. His breathing style had reached the ultimate level. He had mastered all the techniques of water breathing, explaining why he could help the Moonslayer members find their optimal breathing rhythms and identify their weaknesses. The two hidden members silently memorized Ryaji's words. Achieving this standard meant qualifying for Hashira status. After receiving Ryaji's guidance, Tanjiro didn't stay long. After finishing his tea, he said goodbye. "Thank you very much, Senior Ryaji. I'll be going now." On his way back, Tanjiro pondered Ryaji's words. Neo, Kyo, and Sumi greeted him, "Kamado-san, Kamado-san." Lost in thought, Tanjiro didn't hear them and walked past. Concerned, Neo grabbed his sleeve, stopping him. Tanjiro noticed them and greeted them. "Hello." Neo asked, "Kamado-san, what's wrong? You seemed lost in thought." Tanjiro scratched his head, "I was thinking about what Senior Ryaji said." Kyo curiously asked, "What did he say?" "Senior Ryaji said to defeat Kaneo, I need to maintain total concentration breathing constantly. Will that be difficult?" Tanjiro replied. Neo confirmed, "That's right. Those who can and cannot do this have vastly different strengths. Kaneo-san can beat you because she maintains total concentration breathing constantly. To win, you must master total concentration constant." Total concentration constant. Senior Ryaji wants me to learn total concentration constant. Tanjiro asked. Neo, Kyo, and Sumi nodded in unison. 296, Chapter 296. Total concentration constant is a state achieved when breathing reaches a certain level. Kamado-san, with your effort, you can definitely do it. Neo encouraged Tanjiro. Kyo and Sumi nodded in agreement. "Thank you. I'll do my best." Encouraged, Tanjiro felt his resolve strengthen. After bidding farewell to the three girls, Tanjiro returned to his ward. Zenitsu and Inashuk were lounging around in bed. Tanjiro was used to it since giving up training, they'd been like that. "Zenitsu, Inashuk. I saw Senior Ryaji today, and he gave me a way to defeat Kaneo." Tanjiro shared the good news. Inashuk, more interested than Zenitsu, sat up. "What did the white-haired guy say?" "If we master total concentration constant, we can defeat Kaneo," Tanjiro replied. "Total concentration constant? What's that?" Zenitsu asked. "Maintaining total concentration breathing constantly, making it a natural part of your body," Tanjiro explained. Zenitsu scoffed, "Are you kidding? Total concentration breathing is incredibly draining. Maintaining it constantly is impossible. Are we supposed to stop sleeping?" Tanjiro explained, "Senior Ryaji said so." Neo, Kiyo, and Sumi all agreed that Kaneo is so strong because she's mastered total concentration constant. Zenitsu replied, only freaks like Senior Ryaji and Kaneo can do that. Let's forget about it. Zenitsu's nature was to avoid challenges rather than overcome them. Unlike Zenitsu, Inashuk, a man of action, began practicing total concentration breathing with his own breathing style while Tanjiro and Zenitsu argued. Noticing the change in Inashuk's breathing, Tanjiro focused on him. He knew Inashuk was attempting it. They watched for several minutes until Inashuk collapsed onto the bed, gasping for air. Zenitsu said, "See." Even Inashuk could only last a few minutes. Maintaining total concentration constantly could be fatal. Tanjiro, undeterred by Zenitsu's negativity, adjusted Ryaji's 1-hour goal. Senior Ryaji said nothing is achieved overnight. Let's start small, 10 minutes, then 20, 30, and then an hour. Zenitsu had no intention of learning total concentration constant. You guys do that. I'm going to get some sleep. He lay back down. 297, Chapter 297. Tanjiro didn't push Zenitsu, instead saying to Inashuk, "Inashuk, let's learn total concentration breathing together." Total concentration breathing. I'll master it before you. Then I'll beat that girl before you do. Inashuk declared enthusiastically. He was determined not to be surpassed by Tanjiro. Tanjiro and Inashuk began practicing total concentration breathing, abandoning rehabilitation training. Ryaji had told Tanjiro that rehabilitation training wouldn't help him beat Kaneo. The problem wasn't the training, it was Tanjiro himself. Aoi Kanzaki, unaware of the situation, waited for Tanjiro and became angry. "Tanjiro, you're skipping training. Seriously." Neo guessed, Kamado-san is probably practicing total concentration breathing. Kiyo and Sumi nodded in agreement. Aoi was puzzled. How did Tanjiro know about total concentration breathing? How did he learn about total concentration breathing? She asked. Neo replied, Kamado-san said someone named Ryaji told him. Hearing the name Ryaji, Aoi remembered the charming white-haired boy who had captivated her. She had secretly gathered information about Ryaji, who was training Demon Slayer Corps members in a secluded courtyard at the Butterfly Mansion. Most of the information was about Ryaji and Shinobu's rumored relationship, making her blush. More importantly, Ryaji possessed immense strength and significant privileges, able to bring Nezuko, a demon, back to headquarters without punishment. She didn't know the details and lacked the authority to find out, adding to the mystery surrounding Ryaji in her eyes. Aoi left the training room and found Tanjiro and Inashuk practicing total concentration breathing outside the ward. Seeing their genuine effort, her anger subsided. After confirming Zenitsu's absence, she approached Tanjiro. "Tanjiro, where's Zenitsu? Why isn't he practicing total concentration breathing with you?" Tanjiro, maintaining total concentration breathing, finally exhaled, wiped his brow, and addressed Aoi. "Aoi-chan, what are you doing here?" "I came because you skipped rehabilitation training. Neo said you're practicing total concentration breathing, right?" Aoi replied. Tanjiro nodded. "Where's Zenitsu? Why isn't he practicing total concentration breathing?" Aoi repeated her question. Tanjiro sighed. "Zenitsu's the same as always. He refuses to try Senior Ryaji's method, saying it's impossible." 298, Chapter 298. Aoi, unsurprised, chimed in, mocking Zenitsu, "Yeah, his brain is only interested in women." Tanjiro didn't argue, it was true. He'd witnessed Zenitsu's obsession with women firsthand, solidifying his decision to never entrust Nezuko to him, even if Ryaji approved. Although Zenitsu didn't join Tanjiro and Inashuk in their total concentration constant training, he secretly watched them from the window, overhearing Aoi's comment. He couldn't deny his fondness for beautiful women. Days later, Tanjiro and Inashuk made progress, managing to maintain total concentration constant for half an hour. Breaking through the plateau improved their training efficiency. However, Tanjiro worried about Zenitsu. If he continued to slack off, he'd fall far behind. Shinobu, hearing about Tanjiro and Inashuk's progress, came to observe them, hoping to motivate Zenitsu. "Wow, you two are amazing. You've lasted this long." Shinobu praised them as they exited total concentration breathing. "Sister Shinobu." Tanjiro greeted her sweetly. "Of course. I'm incredibly awesome." Inashuk boasted crudely. "That's right. You're the future of the Demon Slayer Corps. Keep it up." Shinobu showered them with praise. She then shifted her focus to Zenitsu. Where's Zenitsu? I heard he's refusing to train in total concentration constant. She suddenly appeared at a window, smiling at Zenitsu, who was peeking from behind it. Hello. What are you doing here, Zenitsu? Zenitsu, startled by her sudden appearance, sat down hard. Relieved it wasn't something monstrous, but a beautiful woman, he quickly recovered. His fear morphed into infatuation. He fawned, Shinobu-san, what brings you here? Are you here to see me? Shinobu, unfazed by his behavior, smiled. Yes. I came to see you. Open the window. She understood why Ryaji had described Zenitsu as someone who latched onto beautiful women. If she weren't a Hashira, she feared he might try to eat her. Zenitsu quickly opened the window and leaned in towards Shinobu. Shinobu slapped him across the face. 299, Chapter 299. Shinobu's movements were so fast that Zenitsu didn't see her move before her hand connected with his face, sending him reeling. Shinobu maintained her smile, as if she hadn't done anything. Zenitsu, what's wrong? She asked innocently. Zenitsu, unaware of who had hit him, touched his face, bewildered. Something hit my face. He said fearfully, looking at Shinobu. Shinobu-san, is there something unclean here? Shinobu's smile widened. Nonsense. It's broad daylight. Those things wouldn't be out. Zenitsu shivered, goosebumps erupting on his skin. He gulped, trembling, Shinobu-san, so there are unclean things here. If so, I'll have to sleep with you. Shinobu secretly admired Zenitsu's cunning. He'd used fear as a ploy to get closer to a girl. She couldn't tell if he was genuinely scared or faking it. Shinobu didn't fall for it. My room is protected by my deceased sister's spirit. Are you sure you want to come? She visits me every night. I see her every day. Zenitsu was genuinely scared, taking a few steps back from the window. He hadn't expected Shinobu to actually interact with the dead. Although he suspected it might be a hallucination caused by grief, he abandoned his plan to get closer to Shinobu. Seeing his fear, Shinobu changed the subject. I was just joking. Zenitsu, why aren't you practicing total concentration constant with Tanjiro and Inashuk? That won't do. Zenitsu, losing interest in her attempt to persuade him, stretched and collapsed back onto the bed. I can't do that. I'm weak. If it weren't for Senior Ryaji, I'd be dead. Hearing Zenitsu's self-deprecation, Shinobu leaped into the room and stood before his bed. That's not true. You're very strong. At Spider Mountain, you killed the demon who turned people into spider-headed creatures, and you used your intelligence and breathing to slow the poison spread until I arrived. 300, Chapter 300. Shinobu knew Zenitsu wasn't lacking in talent. His self-perception was hampered by his personality. Really? I'm that strong? Did I really kill that demon? Zenitsu sat up, excited and incredulous. He barely remembered what happened at Spider Mountain, only a dreamlike state before waking up unconscious, using his breathing style to slow the poison spread until Shinobu arrived. Shinobu affirmed, yes. Zenitsu is very strong. I believe you can master total concentration constant. She took his hands, holding them tightly in hers. Once you master total concentration constant, we can fight side by side. I'm looking forward to going on missions with you, Zenitsu. Shinobu pressed her advantage, using her beauty to ignite his fighting spirit. Zenitsu, easily swayed, blushed crimson. Ah, he cried out in excitement. I'll do it. He leaped out the window, joining Tanjiro and Inashuk in their training. His excitement stemmed from misinterpreting Shinobu's words as a veiled confession. To gain the chance to work with her, he threw himself into the training. Shinobu smiled, happy to see Zenitsu's renewed determination. Though unaware of their conversation, Tanjiro was happy to see Zenitsu finally training. Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inashuk diligently practiced total concentration constant, their days filled with purpose. Neo, Kyo, and Sumi were happy to see their efforts. Let's take them lunch. And the gourd sister Shinobu asked us to deliver. They placed the lunch and gourds on the wooden walkway outside. Everyone, lunch time. Neo called out to the exhausted trio. Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inashuk eagerly approached and began eating. Tanjiro noticed 3 gourds. What's in these gourds? He asked. Sumi replied, nothing. They're for blowing. Tanjiro was even more confused. They weren't made into flutes, and there were no holes. How were they supposed to be blown?
Every novel listed in the description comes with permanent access to the audiobook on Telegram. You pay once, and if the novel is still ongoing, you'll receive all future updates automatically. No extra cost. Choose your novel from the description, then DM me on Telegram, WhatsApp, or Discord. After payment via PayPal, Ko-Fi, or Patreon, you'll get instant access. Simple, secure, lifetime listening. Guys, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button. Your support means a lot.